is rolling. Let me make sure everything up. Let's reveal the actual thing. Bam! It's my Switch! And right there at the front is Sakuna of Rice and Broom. We're going to get right into this. Fuck yeah, I'm excited. Yep, that's right. Select the user. Lucky, that's me. Yay!
All right, well, while Lucky's booting that up, I would like to remind everybody that this episode of What's Up Live is brought to you by our patrons like Adam DeHarp, Ahanga Comics, Aka Kazume, Architect 10, Black G, Carlos Qua, Ferris, Jeremy Vasquez, Jonathan Sandoval, Kylie Denton, Legendary Boss Under, Liam Kessler, Regent Raptor, Rogue Robin, Charvor, Shawnee P, some guy named Bob, Soda over 24 and 723. If you like what we do and want to see more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it really helps us out.
Wow. I can put this in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Powerful.
That's actually very convenient.
Yeah.
That might be more convenient than games that let you switch what is cancel and what is accept.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm going
yes,
through
hello,
the
I see people in YouTube chat already. We are full blown, like, I think between the two of us, there's like 5 screens right now.
Oh yeah, no,
not counting the fact that obviously I have my phone as well, and like my TV is on in the backdrop because I'm an animal. But so we've got YouTube chat, we've got patron chat with our Discord. We may or may not pay attention to all of these things. I've got Audacity open on one monitor so I can watch the audio waves go in and out. Lucky is streaming, obviously.
Yes.
He's getting started with the game. Said what it was, so... there any...
Oh, there it goes. Okay, now let's switch. Yeah, Japanese. Who is a weeb? I am a weeb.
We had that conversation earlier.
Yeah, we are.
But yeah, here we are, guys. We're out of YouTube jail. Streaming again.
Yes, I'm excited.
This is our second overall stream since we got back. Excuse me. Lucky was not feeling like streaming Thursday.
No. Unfortunately, like I said, I am recovering. Oh, this looks dark in a variety of ways. But I'm still recovering from my back injury. And Thursday, I actually had a bit of a flare-up. And so I was like, nope, not happening. Today is not the day. It looks like it's telling a story. It looks like they were captured, someone died, and then they ran away. And now they're on the bridge.
Stuff was on fire. Ooh, that's loud.
That is loud. Let me turn that down. Hang on.
Yeah, we're getting some cross contam on the audio recording I got. Now, in the MP3 version, I'll probably cut most of that out because that's really easy to edit because it's very, very quiet. But yeah.
All right, I fixed it. But
Well,
yes, honestly,
I'm still hearing it to the end. So.
The what?
I'm still hearing it. So.
Oh wait, that's probably because it's from my fucking TV. It's my TV, not my fucking setup. I'm dumb.
Yeah, you may even want to turn it back up on your setup. That's the part that's being ported to stream people.
Yeah, hang on. Well, I don't want it too loud because I want to make sure that people can hear us.
We got an audio balance. People in chat, I see there's like 8 or 9 of you. Go ahead and let us know about the audio balance for you guys on the stream end, obviously.
Ishimaru.
His shoulders are big.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, this blue guy, his nose, it's wild. I can't handle it.
He's very pointy.
Very pointy.
Yeah, okay, so Lucky wasn't ready to stream on
Wasn't ready to stream, and to be fair, I wasn't sure what I would stream anyway. I think we talked about this like the other day. It's like I could stream FGO, but
yes, on the episode of Let's Talk, which went live today, which you should watch after this, obviously. If you haven't watched it already, because it's not super, but if you haven't already, go back. You talked about, like, because neither of us have done super. I'm farming event stuff right now, actually, on my phone. So, like, we're not super far, and it would just be rerun stuff, so it's not really worth it to splash in. I am sure when new stuff happens, Lucky will get his setup going and do it. Hell, I got a newer phone. I should probably figure out, if I can do some stuff now that we're back in stream jail.
Let's see. Talmon, you are shaking quite a bit there.
Hey. Thanks for that super chat there.
Hey.
This is where we make the big bucks.
Yeah, thank you. Super appreciate.
We're back on the YouTubes. But yes, on Monday, which wasn't technically... Well, okay. I was lurking the whole time. You can tell exactly when I did it, because I posted something funny on Twitter, as you do. The only thing Twitter is good for, posting funny things, and nothing else.
Is that a small drunk girl?
Well, since I'm no longer hearing the playback, I can't hear it, but does she sound drunk?
No, she hasn't spoken yet, but she has walked up on
Yeah, I
two...
see her. She's shimmy shammying.
Yep.
And those ribbons are clipping like crazy. That's got to be intentional. But no, yeah. So technically, it was like Sunday night sometime, but it wasn't like on like an hour dot or something. I don't know if it was literally 90 days after the strike was issued or something, like to the exact minute. But yeah, it was in there somewhere. So we didn't do it Sunday, obviously, because it was very late anyway. So Monday was our first day back. Monday will be my stream day for the foreseeable future because, you know, during the 90 days, my D&D game got scheduled around to be Tuesdays, which was my normal stream day. And Wednesdays, I record the Progression Tournament series. Also, people watch streaming every day, so they probably wouldn't mind if we streamed, like, back-to-back days. But that just seems, like, very weirdly asymmetrical to me.
I don't know, like... Because...
I'm sure people would watch it, but it just seems weird to me to be like, Wednesdays and Thursdays.
If we want to get up, if we want to get up with those, you know, with them big boy streamers, we have to start streaming, you know, like every day.
Yeah,
that's.
And I'm sure at some point we'll find time for that. But let's gently roll up to stuff. Plus, you know, I need time to do other things. But yeah, so just with strategers wise, Monday's gonna be my stream day for the foreseeable future. We'll jigger it around as it goes. But I streamed Among Us to start the new map. I also tucked in some children's card game at the end there because we had I talked about this, I think, yesterday. We had a really great final round when I clocked in the 3 hours, but I was like, I'm not tired or anything. I still got some people here. We'll switch to something else. You know? And we'll stick around and watch it.
Oh no, she's a lollibaba.
Oh, she went for the drop kick.
Yeah, she did.
I'm an adult. Kick.
Powerful lollibaba. But
yeah, so Among Us happened and other stuff. But we're streaming again.
Yeah, we're streaming. I hope you can all look forward to all this content soon. All 7 of you. So...
I mean, to be fair, we scheduled this one very late.
Mm-hmm.
Usually we do this a couple hours before time so people can be like, oh yeah, you're streaming.
Oh yeah.
This is why we yell at you to hit the bell for notifications, though.
Now, let's see, what's been going on through the week? So, Omega. We've been talking about streaming here, and there's something that, like, we've been talking about doing and whatnot is, you know, figuring out how share play works and all that. And I think I have an idea of how it works and get it done. And how to get it done. It's just might take a little bit of finagling.
I mean, we could try the finagling. We've been talking about how we need to practice that for a while. It's just that, unfortunately, in the time frame where we talked about this before, in the time frame where we were gonna knuckle down and do it was when you hurt your back. So our time's been a little stretched. But if you got it, you know, I'm ready to test if you're ready to get in there.
Yeah, no, basically we just gotta, on our PS5s, we gotta enter into a voice chat together. And then from there, whatever one is playing, we can just access from there.
Can I still enter a voice chat even if I don't have a...
I believe so.
Headset there.
I believe so. Well, either way, like, if we do, we'd have to mute it anyway since we use Discord. The only thing about the share play, though, is while the other person can watch, the other person can only take control for, like, an hour at a time.
Yeah.
But... I mentioned this because, coming out soon, like, in a month, it is next month, ain't it? Yeah, is Resident Evil Village, you know, and then...
yeah, actually, there was a RE event this week on PlayStation, and they outlined a very aggressive demo schedule.
Yeah, they did. And, like, here's the thing. I am super interested in playing Resident Evil Village. Like I said, it reminds me a lot of 4. So, I'm like, and that was the first, I think I've told this story before. That was the first Resident Evil I ever beat. So I have fond memories of it. I also have memories of screaming from being scared by random things. Ooh. But I'm excited to get in it. But the problem is did I just double is? I did. But the problem is that I've not beaten 7 yet. And unfortunately, like, I don't feel like I need to go back and play 6 and beat 6, because I haven't beat 6. I got through Leon's.
No, 7 was definitely a soft reboot.
Yeah. But I would definitely want to play 7. I'm just like, 7 seems like a game that'd be fun to stream. And I do know that we've been talking about this thing, so I really want us to maybe sit down, and I could play it, but have us stream Resident Evil 7 together so we can have both our reactions.
Yeah, well, that is something we've been talking about for a long time.
Yeah.
Basically, since they announced 8, and also simultaneously, we've been in stream jail.
Yeah. Now, we have to work out necessarily the timing on whatnot, but like, I can definitely use my stream days for that, and maybe some other ones. I'm not necessarily fussed about it.
The interesting thing there is obviously you have a day job, but you're in the past for me, so while obviously I would not want to go like super late while we were streaming because I am 3 hours ahead, I also don't, I don't have a sleep schedule that what you would consider like a normal 9 to 5 thing. So I'm free a lot of time in general. Just has to be on the right days. So we could definitely work on some things.
Oh.
In terms of what goes where.
Because, like I said, 8 is coming out soon, and I want to get through 7, but I'm not the best at like scary games. Unfortunately, Resident Evil 4 through 6 were not the scary ones per se. They had a few jump scares in there, but
yeah, no, like 4, I think 4 was when they introduced QTEs, so it was like a decent amount of like shock value stuff and like jump scares, but it was not like as horror-y, spooky.
Are we in the gameplay aspect now?
Much more action focused, I think. And then that action, because 4 was like, I was actually wondering if you were gonna like throw some shade. Now that it made sense, obviously, I know you like 4, but like on that era. But you're right that was a different era, and after 4 being very popular.
How the fuck do you go into someone's house and just starts fucking knocking over their shit?
They're looking for rupees.
I guess. Let's see. L plus R extend the divine raiment. Use it to grapple walls and ceilings. Let's see. R. Wait. Oh, okay.
But yeah, as I was saying, there is definitely a moment where like, oh, 4 was really popular. Oh, we're gonna get more action packed again, and then 7 was very much no, we're going back to haunted house stuff. They did the remake of 1 and 2 and 3. Or technically, was it more just they remastered RE1 in HD?
No, they remastered. They remade 1 like a long time ago. You can get that back on.
Okay, so they'd already remade 1, and then they did an HD remaster. Okay.
Yeah, no, but 2 and 3.
2 and 3 were full-blown remake.
Yeah, they did a Yeah, they used like a new engine and stuff for all that stuff.
I'm not a big RE guy. I haven't really played a lot of them. I always wanted to play 4, but I got like a loan copy from like somebody just brought it over on like PS3 because they re-released that game a shitload. But the disc was like scuffed, so it didn't run. So I like missed my one chance and just never had the time to go back. So I did play the original 8 demo that was out. It's on our channel. I did that because I could do that while we were in stream deal. I could record it. It was like 30 minutes anyway. The audio is a little buggy because I didn't understand how my audio capture works. Oh. Hey, did you know if you plug headphones into a PS5 controller and that you reroute the audio, that also fucks with your capture of the audio?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it gets it's very weird. So I plugged in headphones to hear details later, and then I yell for like 5 seconds about how oppressively loud it is, and all sound is gone from the capture version. It's all just going straight into my ears.
Oof.
But you can still watch me react to the content, and by which I mean react, I don't react. So that'll be I think we have definitely talked about this before, but it's been a while. In relation to Resident Evil, Lucky is definitely the more guy to go like, where I just like quietly die inside and just go, nope, don't like it. Like that is my canon response when a spooky thing TM happens in the demo. I'm just like, fuck. Okay, all right. That's what it is. All
Break
right,
into
cool.
my
I love it.
house, eat my food.
And these people being rude to you right now, Lucky?
They're being rude. It's like, couldn't they maybe thought to ask maybe first? Besides breaking the fucking expensive pots? You assholes. Okay, I'm wearing all these fancy ass clothes and then I just pull out this old looking hoe? Okay. Nope, I fucked up. I've done, yep, that's fire.
Is it hot fire?
It is hot fire. Now's the time for panicking. And...
Yep, alcohol and oil and rice, not good.
What was that loud noise?
Yeah, so if we were to do the wombo combo, so we'd be synced up, I would be reacting as close as I could be to Lucky playing the game. Oh,
big.
Very big. Quite tall.
Big God is
It would
energy.
definitely be more though, like we said, like we'd be doing the action for 7. And I've talked about this. I've watched Let's Plays of people play 7 multiple times. Like, so I'm pretty familiar with that game's beats.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is a great freeze frame. As I watch the little preview in the studio. I mean, I don't know about UX. Like, I follow that. That's not why most people watch scary games, though. Most people are going to watch scary games, much like most people watch me play children's card games for Yelly to... Yelly?
Yes.
Lucky Yelly to kick and scream and shout. Much like I said, like people watch me play the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Evolution video game to watch me, like, bitch and moan about how dumb it is. But having 2 people, I think, can, like, it helps break the tension, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we are doing, like, puzzles and stuff, it'll have that moment to, like, cycle through things and, like, figure out stuff. I mean, it's true. A lot of people do like seeing competence, but I don't...
Well,
I mean, we're not necessarily saying that Lucky will be incompetent, but Lucky will have visceral emotional reactions.
I'm sorry. I think one of the best reactions I ever saw was back on Game Grumps when they were playing Silent Hill, Shattered Memories, and
it's a good series.
Yeah, no, I liked it. A lot of people didn't. I liked it, but I always remember the moment where Dan and Aaron are talking, and they walk past like this ice wall, and something jumps out, and it freaks Dan out so much that he just screams aloud, and that scared Aaron, so he screamed. And I'm just like.
Game Grumps has definitely been doing this thing lately where they go back and watch some compilations of some of their stuff, and that was in it. Like, there was a compilation of great scares from Shattered Memories, and that's pretty good, because it's just like,
yeah,
we're just chilling, we're just minding, and then there's just somebody slaps against the ice, and then we're just like, ah!
Mm-hmm.
Why did you yell?
Oh, that was good.
No, scary games are good for them. Their PT playthrough is great. Just like at one point, Dan is just like, "No, Aaron, no, I'm done. I'm done." And you can hear Dan's voice getting up and walking away from the couch. "I'm out. I'm done." And Aaron's like, "But Dan, come back." And then there's this silence for like a couple seconds, and then Aaron is like, "Well, suddenly now that Dan's not here anymore, this is really scary." Dan, come back. Like, that's the sort of level we're going for.
Yeah.
Like, having me riding shotgun will mean that, like I said, I can be like, oh, if Lucky's stuck, I can pull up a walkthrough to make it go by smoother. I can be like, I think you're supposed to do the blah, blah, blah key here.
Mm-hmm.
I can, be the second set of eyes that everybody who watches a Let's Play is and just be like, hey, Lucky, there's a zombie in that corner. And then Lucky's going to be like, blam. Lucky, I lied. It was a rock. That rock cost me 3 bullets. There's some back and forth there. So I think trying the whatever we want to call it, wombo combo on RE7 is a good idea, because you said you haven't played it before, so you're pretty fresh to it. I am not necessarily fresh to that game, but you know, I'm also not, like I said, I'm not a hugest fan of them. Though definitely the actual gameplay of 7 is a little bit more like it's not full action oriented. There's some action oriented DLC, but it's not full action oriented. But it is more active and proactive than the first demos of it were. Like playing the 8 demo, for instance, I played that. That's very like non-interactive. Like you just go places, you solve not even puzzles so much as you go to rooms you can go to find things you can open up to go to rooms you couldn't go to before. You know, basic bitch Resident Evil shit. And there are some monsters, some enemies who appear in it, but they, you know, and they are optional. Like they're not mandatory captures, but they do. Wow, just gonna manhandle that one.
Yeah, I am being severely disrespected here, and I'm not okay with this.
But it's not meant to be like a full showcase of what's actually in the game. It's more like, okay, here's some of the set pieces we've designed. Look at our models. Here's kind of the feel we're going for. We're gonna drop some spooky lore hints on you. Okay, here's a giant lady. She's gonna stab your face. Bye.
Bye.
And then it's done.
Oh.
So I know they got a couple more demos though. It'll be interesting to see how those play out. But yeah, if this works, we may see it with a couple of more games down the line. Like obviously, we could probably do 8 that way. And also, you know, there are some other things we've talked about. You know, side saddling as well. And also,
I don't like how everyone's just sitting in the boat, and then Sakuna, who I'm guessing is my character, is just literally just laying down in the back like, this is my fucking life now.
Yeah.
It's great.
How we doing? But yeah, so we're I was gonna say, that said, for next Monday, my plan on stream is to jump into Subnautica, because that is free on the PS5s. Well, it was anyway. I think actually the pass for Play at Home's gone, but it was for like a month or so. It was up. And I did get it. I tested it. It runs fine on the PS5. It's very pretty. So that'll be a good, you know, nice, relaxed, long-form stream to get out there and, you know, be in the ocean. Yay. So, it was really cold when we started this because the AC kicked. Now it's off. I'm getting a little sweaty. That's going to be really annoying later when the AC kicks back up.
Yep.
Oh well, c'est la vie.
Yeah, but like we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of things like I remember we spent maybe a little bit too much time on Let's Talk. Yeah, but like I literally have a wall of games here that like I want to get through here. And I was actually looking at maybe trying to figure out a way to get my PS3 doing some capture things and stuff. Might involve an HDMI splitter. I'm not sure. But the point is I think it's always better to have back and forth while streaming. I think that's like why I generally like watching multiple people, you know, streaming like a game and stuff and hearing them talk and whatnot. I find that dynamic a lot easier to enjoy than instead of just seeing one person's reaction. Yeah.
And I obviously solo streamers are also like super huge, but there's definitely something to be said for a lot of interactivity. And I think when you're going solo, it relies a lot more on like chat interaction or just your constant ability to do improv, basically. Whereas if you have two people, you have instant, you know, chemistry. You've got the bounce. You can bounce back and forth. That's what like makes all of our podcasts work, is the fact that we're two hosts doing them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, fun fact. So before we started, we had a bit of a pregame while I was getting everything set up, and we were making jokes, and I was doing the stereotypical, you know, turn a English word into Japanese. I think I said like drifto, and I was all like, man, I feel slightly racist when I say that, and you were like, nah, it's fine. And I was like, yeah, no, fucking they do things. And I just remembered here, because I just listening to the game, I just realized Myrte is not a whatever Asian person here, and so they're using that stereotypical Japanese version of a foreigner speaking their language. You know, like with the enunciation on like, with the weird enunciation. I'm just like, oh yeah, no, yeah, this is how they do things here. Yeah, I don't feel so bad anymore.
Yeah, I've encountered a lot with I have actually, not that I necessarily want to deep dive into it right now because we're talking about all kinds of stuff, but I have been actually watching back old episodes of the original Yu-Gi-Oh series, and that's how the character Pegasus, because he's the American creator of Duel Monsters. In the original Japanese, he's Pegasus J. Crawford, which doesn't sound as magnificent as Maximilian Pegasus. He's Maximilian Crawford, but his way of speaking in Japanese is very slow and stilted. Now, part of that is just like he has this kind of lilt to his voice where he puts his emphasis in weird places, Yugi boy. Like some of that's
I forgot about Yugi boy.
Well, and that's in the original Japanese too, which is the funny part. Like,
what, he calls him Yugi Bo?
Kun, no, literally Yugi boy. Like, instead of like where a normal Japanese person would say Yugi Kun, he's just like Yugi boy. Like, I'm actually the first time I listened to it in Japanese, I'm quite shocked. But he uses boy almost like an honorific.
That is an honorific. It's not...
yeah, but like not boya, boy, like properly pronouncing it like he's English. It's very weird. But it feels natural to the character because he is a foreigner who presumably Japanese is not his first language, so he has a little bit of a stilted way of speaking with some extra flair on there. People love the extra flair.
People love flair.
But yeah, so it is interesting to see that back and forth of how stuff is handled. Like I said, there's definitely something where you could argue that doing, the flipping your L's and R's all the time, especially if you do other things with it, it's probably a little problematic. But also, again, we listen to so much shit in Japanese anyway. That is just how the Japanese language borrows English words, which they do a lot. Again, I'm watching old Yu-Gi-Oh episodes. You know how many cards are named in slightly broken English? It's a lot. It leads to very punny things later in the English translation of the card game when we got the card Curse of Dragon, the Cursed Dragon. Because in the original Japanese monster is just Curse of Dragon. So when it gets translated to English, Curse of Dragon. Got it. Well, then when they give that like a cool new version, like in 10 years, they're like, okay, so it's still Curse of Dragon, but then it's like, what do we do? Oh, we'll just double down. We'll call it like, Cursed Dragon in Japanese. Well, now the English translators look at this card and go, wait, this is going to sound dumb. This is going to be dumb when we have to do this later. Shit. Curse of Dragon, Cursed Dragon. Very well. We'll suck it up. Like, occasionally they do manage to avoid obvious bad dubbings or translations. Okay. I think I may have mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. There was an archetype that was very popular. It was a new series of cards that came out last year, which in the original Japanese was called Dragma.
Dragma?
Yeah. Kind of like Dogma, dragon kind of a thing, right? Well, obviously, if you just say Dragma in English, you're going to get a lot of really shitty 2000s jokes. So when they translate it to the TCG, they kept the effect, but they changed it to Dogmatica with hard K. So it's like, okay, this preserves the feeling of like we're referencing like the term dogma. You got this kind of ornate spelling. It's got that extra K in there, so it seems like it's got kind of magic with a K kind of effect. But now you've dodged all the incredibly lame puns that everybody on the internet would make forever. So it was.
Did we talk about fucking how localizers have rough jobs and you should fucking appreciate them? Did we talk about that?
I don't think we brought up that. That was a Twitter thread that was posted in our Discord over the last week. So no, I don't think we've mentioned that before.
It was just with some of the fucking recent anime, there's been some translation choices that some people just don't agree with, and they're going and they took to Twitter as these people are wont to do. And it was actually pretty cool. Yeah, actually, because I remember I read this entire thread. It's about to fight. Stop it. This otter is fucking jumpy. This is what it must be like. Okay, I can't get close. It won't stop backflipping.
The flips.
Oh, just whack me with the fucking tail. Well, fuck. Okay, nope, that's not working. Aha! Oh, wait, nope, and you stabbed me. Okay,
I like
right.
you just you just whipped out the hoe.
Yeah.
The big swing there. Now you're Spider-Man.
Yeah, I wish I could do something with this Raymond besides fucking come close. And I don't even get real close. Like, it sends me too far back so I can go into a combo immediately. Looks like I'll be alright, though, but... Oh, okay, I don't get to kick his ass anymore. Thanks!
Oh, you know, they're teaching you.
They're teaching me. Anyway, but... Basically, like, terms like the word, like, sus came up in a translation, and I'm just like, people were like, that's not how it sounded originally in Japanese. And the quick answer is, no. Because it's Japanese. It's not English. There might not be an actually equivalent word, so they have to come up with something similar. With slang.
Yeah, this is a very classic problem of, you know, do you translate your dialogue as slangy?
Yeah.
And the question is sometimes yes and sometimes no.
Oh, Weasel.
Yeah, sure. Kamitachi. Does he have a scythe?
Or
is it, he's got a sword.
Looks like it was a sword, but he was a slippery dude.
Okay, I could see that confusion. But yeah, like this is an actual debate. We've talked about this before with how the FGO translation is handled, obviously, because some people take some stones with that. But I think in general there was a nice long thread about this that talked about like what is actually in, you know, some of these things that go into these and how it works out. And
it looks like a branch pruner.
A lot of these, I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of farm implements.
I think so too. I think I'm attacking with a sickle and a hoe.
Yeah, you definitely try to hit him with a hoe. But yeah, no, there's definitely something to be said there for. Well, also, yeah, Axe talks about a pole hook. For other nerdy reasons, that is actually the source of a lot of historical Japanese pole arms, though. Like, and pole arms in general is just repurposed farming implements.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different kinds of Yari spears, guys. Anyway, but yeah, about the localization issue, right? Like, it's the difference between translation and localization, and what do people want?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want just a pure literal translation? Probably not, actually, because some of those translations, y'all remember the days of fan subs? Obviously, that still happens sometimes, because, you know, Netflix will sometimes buy up exclusive rights and make you wait, like, 3 months or whatever. But, you know, back in the day, you had issues like, note Keikaku means plan. Like, obviously that's exaggerated. That was I assume a gag sub or a really bad one. But you would have these moments where I remember back in the day, you know, big subtitlers. I can name drop some of them. DB, the Tebayo, was a big one for Naruto. I think they fan subbed all of Naruto, I think.
I believe they did.
Or at least a very big chunk. Like, I remember them back in the day and lots of other stuff. Like, occasionally the sub translators would have to drop these notes and be like, yeah, so this word here or this phrase is actually related to this thing and all that stuff. And like, that's cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's neat. That's not a really good flow for like a professionally localized product, right?
Well,
like,
I can agree, but also disagree, because honestly, them doing those things is what taught me a lot, helped me taught me a few things about the Japanese language.
Oh, yeah, no. Like, there's definitely something to be said there for using it as kind of like a learning aid. But arguably, that's, as much as that is convenient for some of us and, like, that helps you learn stuff, that also...
you usually have to pause. You have to pause and then read and be like, okay, I get this, and then continue.
If too much text makes it hard to read in the moment, especially if there's being very dialogue heavy, which some scenes in anime often are. You know, you have a lot of lines interspersed. And again, it's an interesting thing. The translation subtitles are not necessarily supposed to like give you fun educational facts. They're supposed to make it so you can understand what's happening in a different language in a single pass, ideally. So it's helpful, but also it's not always what you're going to be going for. And so, yeah, translating with slang, with localization is usually good. Like, I mean, I don't want to say that Crunchyroll and Funimation are perfect. I have definitely seen some interesting takes in the way subtitles are handled.
Yeah.
Usually having to do with inserting modern Western political issues into a Japanese script, which they definitely were not there before. That is not a thing that Japan would have brought up right then. Thanks, guys.
Wait, can you think of an
Which-
example? I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Specific examples, I probably can't because I've seen a couple of them that blur together. Usually it has to do though with stuff like the gendering question. Because how Japan treats the here. I'll be PC for some people. I'll say the otonoko genre. How people handle that kind of thing, right? Sometimes I've seen some like aversions to like making sure to avoid saying certain things, which is like or putting it with a specific skew. Like I'm pretty sure if the phrase non-binary appears, that's gotta be a localization insert.
Probably. Well,
which may or may not be accurate to the original Japanese storytelling. And like, I'm not throwing any stones. Representation is fine, but I do think it's a little weird to like necessarily force representation that was not necessarily intended that way.
Yeah,
and I don't want to say Japan has great takes about everything.
No,
but
they definitely don't know about this, but like honestly, like I'm not even necessarily sure that might be on the side of like translators because I did read a big thread on translating, and it's levels. People write the translation. Like several people will write translations for like one thing, and then they'll pick one of them. Look it over, give it over, and send it on up. And sometimes things get lost. Like actually, I can't remember the titles off the top of my head. But I believe Seven Seas? Seven Seas came under a little bit of fire from their community recently because of certain liberties they had taken with the translation. With the, oh yeah, I remember it was with Mushko Tensei and Classroom of the Elite. They actually removed some parts of the script and dumbed down some of the scenes in Tensei to be much more family friendly, I guess is the best term I'll use.
That's an interesting zone in our current times. Yes.
So
that's a weird thing to. That's a look that is not necessarily the best right now.
No. So, people like definitely called them out and called them out, and they said, we'll issue reprints and get this all fixed up because apparently it had slipped their notice. Apparently. Allegedly. But it's just one of those things of like, yeah, sometimes sometimes translators will take liberties, but sometimes it's the fact that you just don't necessarily have a one-to-one language. It's like this is one of the reasons why I like even if I'm not like fluent in it, I like knowing about Japanese language because I can hear something in Japanese. Like, man, it's like, okay, this ain't a one-for-one, but it's pretty close, so I get the intent.
And there's a lot of things to be said there for like the different ways our languages are structured, like grammatically, structurally. This was brought up in that thread we saw on Twitter, right? Where they talked about, oh yeah, in Japan there's a lot of different pronouns for I, but in English there's only one, really. So that means when you do those different things, you have to do it a lot in tone and intonation, and that's actually just a general term. In English, a lot of your nuance is in tone, and like body language and presentation. Like I can say the same phrase multiple ways and have it mean multiple things. Like if I say "fuck you, man" versus "oh, fuck you, man," like those mean two completely different things, even though grammatically and textually those are both the same sentence.
Yeah.
Japanese is not like that. Japanese nuance is almost entirely in word choice. Like there is usually some tonal stuff there, but there is a little bit of a social emphasis on being stoic in public. And even if anime is like usually way more exaggerated and emotional, right, and energetic, a lot of the subtext is still in the language choice, which can be easy to miss and often hard to translate. Like sometimes they can do some stuff with like switching to more formal or archaic words, right? You can avoid contractions, that kind of thing, but there are some stuff which just straight up doesn't translate. So, an actual thing, like somebody brought up High School of the Dead referencing the NRA and Sailor Palin. I don't know if that was like a political joke dig. That might have been like a meme thing, but also it's entirely possible that that meant that there was supposed to be some kind of timely Japanese political reference in the text, which does not translate.
No. Well, that was the
timely references are hard, guys.
Yeah. It's like, honestly, I still come up with references. Shoot, even regular fucking in like standard American media that reference something from a long time ago, and I'm just like, I don't get it because I can't remember the details exactly, so I don't remember it.
Yeah, references are often a time capsule. So when you get those beats in the actual text, that's like, well, you know, there's a word play or there's a reference there that just our audience won't get, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So your translators have to think about how to do it. Slang's a good way. Like, I think I saw one that was called it in the thread where, like, the word cringe was used, which obviously, I mean, on the one hand, I do think the translators were playing with fire there.
Yeah.
Because cringe is a very loaded word. Like, it's one of those meme words that can often lose all of its meaning immediately.
Well, yeah.
On the other hand, in the context, they were talking about people being chuny.
Yeah.
Which has a little bit of traction in the anime community because of having to translate it, basically.
Yeah.
But doesn't have a direct translation. So
I mean, it literally translates to eighth, like middle school.
Yeah, middle school syndrome is what it's like. Chuniboyo is basically what translates to like middle schooler syndrome or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's when you're in your preteen to early teen phase and you're like super try hard and edgy and you're trying really hard to be cool. That's being chuny. Well, that the person in this Twitter thread even said, okay, in English, what do you call it if somebody's being a little bit of a shitter? They're really try hard. They often force like memes and references. What do you call that? Sometimes you do actually call that cringe.
Yeah.
So like, no, there was not a good one-to-one translation. They picked one that was fairly appropriate to our time frame. And obviously, if you're on the internet, because cringe has lost, it's just like a lot of words, it just becomes a nonsense word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like cancel culture is just a nonsense word now. Lots of things are just nonsense phrases. The vernacular, the slang just cycles through in like 5 to 10 years.
It's weird. It's like, as I said, once things gets on the internet, it just becomes so disseminated that it kind of just loses its impact.
It gets too easy to get out there. Trigger warning's another big one.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even see people say that anymore. I usually see it abbreviated as CW, content warning, which is always what I thought they should have gone for. Like, using trigger warning, I'm triggered. Like, one is actually out of context for the psychology it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But also was, like, really exaggerated and was, like, super cool for, like, 2 years, and then it was not cool for, like, 3 or 4 more years, and now we just don't say it anymore.
Yeah, I think cancel culture is kind of get into that point now.
Well, and I actually learned this the other day from something else that I don't want to go into on our show because it's not related. But like, the actual original origin of cancel comes from I believe like rap and hip hop culture.
Really?
Yeah, it comes from a song like "Canceled." Our love is canceled, or you're canceled in my heart. Sorry about the source. I'm not big in that genre, but basically the idea that like a black music artist had a bad date once, where his date was like really presumptuous and arrogant, and he just made a song where he's like, you're canceled in my heart now. You're canceled from the TV of my mind, right? I'm just not gonna think about you anymore and stuff. And then that kind of got out there on the Twitterverse after a few years, and it got completely twisted around to mean something else that also became a nonsensical thing that doesn't matter anymore, because this is a big boy Fox News move, which is to take whatever you think is cool and then repeat it over and over again until it loses all meaning and steal it from you.
That's probably
That's
their
how Fox News steals your power.
I'm about to say that this is clearly their master move.
Yeah. So, like, I think you're right where cancel's kind of working out. Problematic is a funny word because, like, on the one hand, it's very verbose and formal, speaking about like levels of formality. On the other hand, it's a very simple word that's usually very true. When something is actually problematic is a decent word. It's not like the end of the world, but like, that thing you said, that could cause problems. You know? Like, that's a funny one to me, of like the drift of problematic, but I'm sure it will cycle out because that's just the nature of linguistic drift, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oof.
But yeah, the localization thing is interesting. And like I said, I don't really have any bones. Like even where I'm like, okay, I feel like you inserted a little bit of modern politically charged issues into this thing. I don't like have a problem with it. I'm just like I'm observing that you are changing the subtext of this sentence a little bit. And some people might take that like getting pulled out of the moment a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like, this subtitle made me think about things that are not necessarily in the context of this anime. This guy's yelling very loud.
Yes, he is.
He's charging his power levels. He's gonna go super nose.
Don't, please.
His nose power level is 3 times as large now.
I don't need no
But
Pinocchio.
no, like, there's something to be said for, like, sucking you out of the moment. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's like, this is like, when people start throwing stones at, like, the FGO translation, right? Like, I bring this up where it's like, the thing is that, like, yeah, we have translators, but also Delightworks still has to look at those. So, like, because this has come up. Albert and the localization team wanted to use Artoria because that's been used in other localizations before, but Delightworks and Type Moon were like, and I believe specifically Type Moon were like, no, our official localization is Altria, so that's what you will write, even though it's wrong. We put it on some merch once. We can't take it back. The branding, Lucky. But no, so, like, we know that Type Moon and Delightworks look at the scripts and are like, this is fine. So you do got to remember there is supposed to be a little bit of oversight, and there is actually some back and forth. Somebody brought this up earlier, but we can bring up this story again. But this is a, now I would say, very infamous situation that happened with the new Netflix dub of Ava.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember who was behind that localization.
I do not either.
I believe it was, like, probably partially funded by Netflix because they got the rights, but I don't believe it was a Netflix Studios type thing. But they showed at a panel, right? They showed it at an anime convention. Those were things that used to exist, guys, before 2020. But they showed a screening of a couple of episodes, and they apparently had a very loosey-goosey script. They were not necessarily literal. They threw in some jokes, some meme comments, like they did some fandom reference stuff. They changed some of the body of the text to be a little looser and a little more approachable to the audience who would obviously be waiting for some of this stuff. And there were some guys from the Japanese studio in the audience.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah, allegedly. Allegedly, there were people from the actual studio who were there watching. And they saw the crowd have this reaction where they were, like, laughing at some of those memes and stuff. And they were like, well, hold on, this is not okay. You are not... What you've done with this dub is not creating the emotional response we want out of the audience. So apparently they got very micromanagey, which is why if you've watched the Evangelion dub on Netflix, which I haven't, I feel no real reason to go back and watch the OG Evangelion anymore. Once was enough for me, thanks.
Listen, I'm waiting for that fourth rebuild movie to come out, though. I will watch that.
Yeah, once all those movies are out, I'll probably binge them again. I own 1 and 2 in Blu-ray, and they are beautiful films in that high def. But it's definitely like, so if you've watched it, it's supposed to be very literal and a little stilted. That's because the Japanese studio got very micromanagedly, allegedly. And we're like, no, we want literal translations. We don't want you to replace any references or anything. We want to make sure our text comes across exactly as we intended it. And when you do that, you get a little weird.
Yeah.
And there are reverse cases of this too. Sometimes actually keeping a lot of the Japaneseisms in can really make a dub. That's why the OG Fooly Cooly dub is, I would think, honestly, like, really good.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, guys, when you're American and you lift something heavy, you don't say, yo, sho. But they kept that in the Fooly Cooly dub, and it, like, really works because that series is so quintessentially weirdly Japanese, right?
Yeah.
So the energy is kept, even though the language is English, and they keep a lot of the energy. They keep the honorifics and stuff, and it really works out to make a very memorable dub that is very good.
You see, that's the thing I like usually. Like, I don't need, like, full translations, but I like when they usually keep, like, honorifics, onomatopoeias,
I also like when they keep the proper name order. This is the thing I had a complaint about the Bleach dub in English. I don't know why, because I'm sure the lip flaps still lined up. Lip flaps are another big thing. If people don't in the chat don't know about them, we can bring it up. But we can
Oh yeah, well,
see,
actually, this actually makes me want to talk about what I have learned is termed dub titles.
But in the English, they had Ichigo and Uryu Ishida refer to each other by first name, and I'm like,
wait,
what I was thinking, like, that's not right. They would call each other by their last names the entire show. That's part of their oddly standoffish, like, nature. Like, and that's a thing, right? Like, in Japanese, you don't usually refer to a person by first name, and especially not first name with no honorific.
Yeah.
Like, that's very intimate. You reserve that for close friends and loved ones.
Yes.
And also probably in private.
Or
and obviously that's not that way in English, right?
Or you're deliberately insulting them.
Yes, or you're being a huge asshole.
Yes.
But now obviously that's not true in English, so you don't necessarily have to keep to those strictest rules, but especially because, Harry Potter was a thing that was very popular. That's also pretty common in British English. If you watch, British TV shows and, or read like British young adult novels, it's fairly common to refer to for characters to keep social distance by referring to each other by their surname.
Well, shoot.
Just in my mind, think of it this way: when you're looking at Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy have a conversation, do they call each other Harry, Draco? No, it's Potter, Malfoy. Like, they use surnames, and that keeps some of that distance. And that was something in the English dub of Bleach. I'm like, this does not feel right that Ichigo is calling Uryu Ishida by his first name. This should be a last name basis kind of thing. They're like kind of school pals, but they're not really. Like, there's some tension there. Like, there should be a little more nuance in that script.
Yeah. I think the only real example we have of that in America's, and I can think of as the military, because even if I wasn't calling anybody by rank, we never called anyone by first name. I was always Jackson to somebody.
Yeah. No, and that's just part of the formality.
Yeah.
It would be, the tone of address would be rank or, last name.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like when you have your name printed on your uniform, it's not like, hi, my name is Bob. It's your last name.
Exactly.
So that keeps the air of formality. If you keep that tone when you're, say, translating something, you can be like, yeah, that seems pretty, there's keeping up like a professional distance there.
Oh, it's raining.
I also appreciate when, if possible, animes do keep honorifics, but that's because I'm a huge weeb.
Well, yeah. Like I said, like, Japanese wordplay is interesting. Shoot, God. Like, one of my favorite animes is the Bakemonogatari series. And I love that series, but the actual original series is based so much off of Japanese wordplay that every time I watch it, I learn something new. Like another layer. Another layer to it.
That's how I feel about watching Ghost in the Shell. I feel like I learned a new philosophy or a new, like, book quote every time I watch that anime.
Mm-hmm.
It's very dense.
So, like, but it's, like, basically because, oh god, Japanese language is so crazy. Just how you write something can mean different things, and if you put those other things together...
No, I know this also because this is a very funny thing with, like, again, not to make everything about Yu-Gi-Oh, but as a card game that's printed first in text in Japanese and then comes over to America, and there are rules for, like, how cards interact with each other with, like, name checks and stuff. So in Japan, they have a lot of ways they can write. You can cram a lot of meaning into, like, 4 characters in kanji.
Yes.
So you can get... This is just a general Japanese wordplay thing. This is very common in anime. Fate does this as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's why, like, Noble Phantasms have subtitles.
Oh, yeah.
Because the way you write it is you write phonetically Excalibur. But then above that, you write in the actual, or below it, usually, you write the actual kanji for, like, the Sword of Promised Victory. Like, so you get this interesting double play in the text, which is usually lost when things are voiced. I remember this was also another Bleach thing. Tire Kubo loves his, like, to, like, phonetically say something in Japanese, English, German, Spanish, whatever, and then put Japanese characters to it as well to, like, give it a meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that text is lost in even when they translate it from the manga to the anime, which is always really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has this problem as well. You can cram a lot of information into kanji, like I said. So you can have, like, you can have the phonetic spelling for, there's an archetype called The full name is Different Dimension Demon. It's abbreviated both in the English text because we can't say demon on a card game for 6-year-olds. It's not okay.
Yeah, there.
Which also, I mean, it makes sense. Yu-Gi-Oh was like a lot of things targeted for like late 90s, early 2000s satanic panic. So I can see why they want to dodge some of that bad marketing. But they abbreviate it to D. But in Japanese, you can abbreviate to DDD phonetically and then write in other characters what it stands for, you know? So you got a lot of these interesting things. And the funny thing is, the way Yu-Gi-Oh is, like I said, very finicky with card names is, in the past, the translation and localization team have absolutely shot themselves in the foot because in Japan, they'll decide, oh yeah, this word, we've decided this word is actually what we call in Yu-Gi-Oh an archetype, which is basically, this is a series of cards that have a shared word in their name and that reference each other. So if you have a card that's like, search your deck for a blah, blah, blah card. Well, sometimes there are cards that in English were translated to include the word blah, 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 but are not meant to be searched by that card, which can sometimes lead to corrections and erratas. A very famous one is there was a really dog shit nothing pack filler card that was translated in English originally as Frog the Jam. Well, like 5 years later, in Japan, they decided that frog, and I believe it is actually the Japanese word for frog, kairu, was, now this is an archetype now. This is a thing. Frog cards are a thing. They're a series. They reference each other. So when those got ported over in English, all of those frog cards had to include this little parenthetical test that says, if you play this card, you can search your deck for any frog monster except Frog the Jam. And just so much stuff. And eventually they fixed it. They full-blown changed Frog the Jam's name to Slime Toad just so they didn't have this problem anymore. It's so funny, like talking about localization stuff. But actually, Lucky, you brought up dub titles as well earlier, so do you want to double back and explain that a little?
Yeah, so basically one of the things I always have a problem with is, in my video games, is I usually like to play in Japanese. Like I do. But the translations are never for the Japanese script. They're always for the English localization. Man, that's actually kind of fucking fun. Hang on, I got it. I'm sorry, I'm basically baseball swinging rocks and rabbits, and it's kind of fucking hilarious.
Ironic.
But like they talk about they've talked about this. Like it's already enough effort to basically write all the script for the English. They don't want to basically add entirely another second set of
literally double their workload.
Yeah, just so they can get maybe closer to the original. Oh fuck that dude! Jesus, I just hit him with like 5 rabbits.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing where, like,
oh, there's a rock here.
This is a very interesting question, right, that comes up with stuff. Like, JRPGs in general are known for being very time intense, right? They're meant to be that way. They're very big, and they're often very dialogue heavy, because that's just the format of the genre. So, we've already talked about, right, translating those script, it's long work, it's sometimes hard. Like, sometimes you gotta stretch your muscles. You have to actually, like, basically write your own shit. Like, if there are untranslatable cultural jokes or references, that means you have to write something funny in their place, right? Because the script calls for a comedic beat here, but the original comedic beat doesn't work. What do? Make a new one. But that's a lot of work, and it's not always been the best working. I think I've talked before about if you've ever wondered why there are a lot of typos and a lot of weird calls in the original Final Fantasy VII script, it's because basically Square Enix of America received that as a spreadsheet cell all at once without seeing the actual game. They didn't have the Japanese game to play at the time. So they were like literally translating everything bubble by bubble and then ran that through basically a software replacer to replace all the text windows, which has led to over the years some mistranslations, some famous typos, this guy are sick, etc. Because there were like, I think it was like maybe like 6 dudes sitting in rooms with PCs typing in spreadsheet cells. Very ghetto, considering it's one of the greatest video games of all time. And now, obviously, for, like, say, Remake, there's a professional, like, they have dedicated teams over here and over there to, like, handle all that stuff, script it out, figure out everything. They'll be able to actually, like, look at the film. A lot of, I think It may have been last week or 2 weeks ago, but we were talking about simuldubbing.
Yeah.
Like that even happens with anime dubs now, where like basically Japan will will upload the actual visuals of the episode,
That's right,
ahead of time, so that the anime voice actors can actually like for simuldubs can actually like look at the flow, check the script versus the flow of the scene, see the interactions, and do all the stuff. And actually, do a lot of that thing together, and make it go a lot smoother. So there are improvements in dub/translation script technology, but it's still a loosey-goosey area, and all forms of translation and localization will be that. I mean, that's just the nature of human language. We definitely talked about OSP's really long Loki vid the other day, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. We're basically like, at the end of it, Red's like, who the fuck even is Loki, basically? Because this is something that bothers her to no end, but also I'm like, God damn it, ancient Norse. The early Norse peoples had a written language. They just didn't use it for anything useful. So they didn't record any of their history or myths on it. So all of our knowledge is like post-Christianization. So I think there's definitely some emphasis for like, Loki's probably not a post-Christianization Satan analog, because that's not necessarily how he's written in certain things in the contemporary timeline, but we don't fucking know. Like, we don't know. Loki, almost said Lucky there. Lucky could have been made up by Christian monks too, I don't know. But Loki could have entirely been adapted later to, like, throw some analogs in and there. And there's a lot of associating him with snakes, which is almost assuredly a later Christianization thing.
Oh.
So yeah, that's just human language and nature. Okay. But that was an interesting thread, and if you can find it in our Discord, you should look it up. Speaking of subbing and dubbing, I have actually been watching some things. I did actually catch up on those 3 episodes of My Hero.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's cool. It's good. I mean, I feel like now that we're in the 5th season, I've realized they're going to do it every season, but the first episode is just the, hello, in case you forgot, here are all these characters, their names and their powers. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Which, I mean, considering that, every class is, the class is like 30 characters, plus supporting characters as teachers and shit, I'm never upset about, but also it's definitely kind of like, the first episode, kind of a wash, just kind of normal. So, yeah, but the next 2 episodes are pretty good. I'm very interested to see where we go from there. Got some stuff. Doing some interesting things. This looks like it's going to be doing some interesting stuff in the metafiction. And do remember, obviously, I haven't read the manga, so if you post manga spoilers, I will kill you. I will pluck ultra you, you will fly into space, and you will never come back. That will be your last conscious thought. But, yeah. So I'm caught up on that, and part of the reason why I was motivated to catch up on that, to kind of bring it back to some of our interesting translation talk, was Team 4-Star has started doing reviews of it again. They waited for like 3 episodes to come out. They did this for like the past couple of seasons, where they do the old dig-in post-analysis of episodes. I like this for certain TV shows. I've watched some people react to Falcon and Winter Soldier after the fact as well. By the way, if you're not watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, you should. There's only 1 episode left. It's really cool. Really, really good shit. But I was like, okay, well, if people, I want to hear their opinions on stuff, even if I don't necessarily always agree with them. If I want to hear people analyze this, I got to be caught up, so I got caught up. But they're posting this on their channel, 4-Star Bento, which probably not a lot of people remember because it's been a dead channel for a long time. But they did actually do some analysis along the lines of the thing we're talking about, like analyzing like classic dubs and things. And I was actually reminded, I watched one of their old videos on this channel about Samurai Pizza Cats, if anybody remembers that.
Yeah, I remember Samurai Pizza Cats. They're not samurai.
No, they're ninjas originally, but it makes for a better, more applicable joke. But the thing is, talking about like localization and stuff, like Saban bought that series to localize, and they couldn't have done an accurate translation if they wanted to, because at least according to them, they did not necessarily get like timely releases of the Japanese scripts, the original Japanese audio masters. Some of them, the time they never even got the OG scripts for episodes.
Oh, geez, really?
Yeah. So like, and keep in mind, this was like what, like the 80s, 90s?
No, it was 80s. It was definitely
yeah. This was the Wild West of the dubs, right? You know, this is like we're still in like the fucking Voltron Macross era, where like sometimes shit's wild. So they did in fact have to like do a lot of improvising and adjusting. Obviously, they swapped openings and endings, but they recontextualized some things. They changed the character's animal race. The big bad in the Japanese series is a fox, because duh. But obviously, the because duh moment in English is he's a rat. Duh, they're cats. But at the same time, they like it's just the general the general like nature of like, okay, but that show in the original Japanese was also like very reference heavy, very very tongue in cheek. Like it wasn't a serious anime. It was, we're gonna have some fun. So that meant there was a lot of these adaptation. And again, like this was the Wild West. Sometimes you just didn't get the script. So now we're in a lot better place. I'm pretty sure like if Funimation didn't get the script to an episode of My Hero, there'd be like urgent phone calls like, hey, is everything okay over there? Like we're missing a script. This isn't usual. Is everybody all right?
It's kind of interesting to see how far we've come in like, I guess, what, like 30 years?
Yeah. It's definitely been like an explosion of like, obviously the interest in the medium,
Well, yeah. Like shoot, like I would even go far to say that anime has become pretty mainstream, honestly. Most people know what anime is, even if they don't particularly watch it.
Yeah. We've reached that point. And that's honestly, as much as like if we want to talk shit about translations, as much as like we can hit on like early Cartoon Network and 4Kids dubs, trying to shoehorn anime into being American Saturday morning cartoons a little bit. Like that's why though. Like people know about anime because you would turn on your TV on Saturday or Friday nights or whatever, and you would watch, Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, Naruto was, on Toonami, stuff like that. And you would, those, when you were in your formative years, again, talking about how that's a very important period where media just sticks with you, you would just be like, nah, this is cool. And then as you grow up, you're like, oh, this is anime. This is, made in Japan. It's dubbed. That's maybe why it sometimes seemed a little weird and why those jelly donuts were not jelly donuts. Somebody in chat just posted that image in Discord as I was about to say it. That's not even a reaction. That's just, wow, timely. But that stuck in people's minds, and some people have kind of taken that as like, okay, that was cool, but that was obviously like you're dumbing this down for kids, right?
Right.
So that drove people, I think, to seek more quote unquote authentic dubs, more serious dubs, and now we're in kind of a, like you said, we're kind of in like definitely a renaissance, if not a golden age of like, no, people know what anime is, and maybe taken seriously is the wrong phrase for it, but like there's money in anime, so people treat it market appropriately, Like they treat it as a property that has value, as opposed to just like some old school dubs were just like, nobody gives a shit about this. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
I mean, like it's not just well, yeah, it's anime, but like you can say that about like a lot of the media, video games, books, like
video games have definitely moved into that zone.
Yeah,
books are always interesting. Like books kind of go up and down. Like,
well, I guess I should specifically say the light novel scene. Like
yes, light novel, and also I want to say the Western version of that is YA.
Yeah.
Like that's really exploded over the last couple of decades, and it's interesting because to relate personal stuff, and Lucky, you can tell me how much you saw this when you were younger because you're a little bit older than me. But when I was a kid, I would almost call it like there was an anti-intellectualism fad. Like reading was for dorks.
Oh
like,
no, that was
video games. You were a Coke bottle glasses, sniveling nerd with bad pimples and shit.
Well, yeah, no, this was back, especially in America. This was back in the day when, I don't know when it was, but I think it was like in the mid 70s or 80s when they started really pushing for physical.
I think it was a counterculture thing.
Yeah. But like post like in the 60s, going to the moon and stuff, like, intellectuals were like super in high demand. But as soon as the 70s hit, it's like, I don't know, like a lot of schools started pushing like physical sports over intellectual pursuits, and guess what?
It's very interesting because we also have a horrible obesity problem in America.
Yeah.
So it's almost like that didn't work on multiple levels.
No.
But no, that was definitely like, and I wasn't alive in the 80s, but what I've studied from 80s pop culture, the 80s was definitely a very jockey time. If you weren't a literal sports jock, you were like a power suit, business, greed is good kind of a jock. Like, if you were like a business dude, you weren't seen as like a nerd. Like nerdy accountants who move money or nerdy accountants kind of a thing. So it's kind of interesting to see that roll around. And then, once you get into the start of the 2000s, and especially now, Age of the Geek, baby.
I'd say maybe closer to the 210.
Definitely in the 210s, but
yeah,
the
definitely
Switch started in the 2000s period.
Yeah.
Definitely, like later half, right?
Yeah.
But that definitely, like we said, that flipped that around and flipped that script. So it's like, it probably has to do a lot with when smartphones were released. Basically,
Probably.
Once tech became so ubiquitous to everybody, somebody who actually knew what the fuck like the internet and tech was like, you can be successful in business, you can be successful in your personal life, and just it really exploded. And now I don't want to necessarily say we're in a resurgence of intellectualism as I stare at our recent political climate over the last 5 or 6 years. But we've definitely hit a period where media-wise, like, it's no longer as clear-cut as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you look at, like, 80s cliques, right? Like, those are very clear-cut,
Mm-hmm.
Jocks and nerds don't cross over. But now it's like, no, you can be a huge nerd and like sports. Like, there's a lot of tech stuff that goes into sports, and a lot of interesting stories. It's not just, like, you don't have to be good at sports. And kind of the reverse. I mean, there's a lot of... there's so many jokes out there about, frat boys and pickup trucks playing, Madden and COD,
Yeah.
Hey, secret.
Yeah, I got me a kitsune mask. Yay!
So, like, we've definitely blurred some lines about what is what these days. And I do think that has impacted the industries that, like, those nerds grew up in and were not necessarily taken seriously in.
Mm-hmm.
Not that, like, being like super excessive and obsessive with your anime fandom makes you a cool guy automatically. Just BT dubs, by the way. You could still like anime and not be cool. It's okay. That's that cringe thing we're talking about, right? That's the being too tryhard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I said, it's an interesting thing. Like you mentioned that the time scale, it is actually kind of if you think about global events, not actually that big of a time period to do that flip. It's the same with like thinking about the time scale of like comic book movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like where we went from like, okay, the Spider-Man movie, like the first couple of Spider-Man movies were pretty good. The third one they tried to do too much, but like going to like tolerable comic book based superhero movies was like rare. Like, the Nolan trilogy was like a rare gem, right?
Right.
To like now where you can be like, even the arguably worst Marvel stuff, which is all usually their early shit, is like very watchable and is relevant in a large scale story perspective and is not like, really weird and like tech reductive or anything. It's not usually dismissive of the character stuff. Like they actually try and give a shit now. That's actually like, it's pretty close together. The first Iron Man was 2008. Like Marvel Studios and Disney have basically invented revitalized a film genre in 10 years and made it a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nuts.
Oh,
and then they definitely made Star Wars not a film franchise thing.
Big oof. It's dark.
Listen, I love Star Wars. I can take those pot shots. I think Disney knows that they did not necessarily do as good with that brand as they did with Marvel, and it took them a while to flip it. Like I think they're doing quite good stuff right now. Mandalorian's pretty good. I'll be interested to see what they're doing with their original animation. Rebels was okay. Not a lot of people liked Resistance, and it only ran for 2 seasons, so clearly that did not work out for them. But they tried. Also, Resistance was set in the sequel era, so there was some uphillage to go there. Marvel's strength is probably in the film related is probably one, doing smart adaptation of their works, which I don't think Star Wars was. Star Wars was not doing smart adaptation of stuff. Like they've thrown in lots of references and recanonized a lot of stuff in their alternate universe of stuff they had to do, but like they were not very smart about approaching that synergy. And they also did not have a good macro scale plan. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing. If they knew what the fuck they were doing, we wouldn't have problems where like the Battlefront 2 story is like really weird and reductive and like just doesn't tread any new ground because the guys at EA didn't have any new ground to tread. They didn't know where the fuck the movies were going. If they didn't know where, like, either nobody knew where the movies were going or Lucasfilm wasn't telling them. So here we are. Like, I don't think EA handled that brand super great either, but, like, they can make good games. They made some good ones at the end there, but just, like, it was very hobbled. But let's not dive too deep into that part of the Star Wars franchise again right now. Let's see. I mentioned watching some stuff. I mean, obviously, you're playing the game, so I don't know how easy it is for you to multitask right now, Luxter. But did you actually assemble your list of anime to talk about?
No, I've actually decided I'm going to wait till we're actually in the 3rd week, and I can give everything the 3-episode try.
Okay, you're going to wait, sir. So everything's got its nice 3-week build. All right.
Yeah.
This has been our anime check-in.
Let's see here. Oh, I can't do any more of that. Let's try some meat.
Meat.
Cool.
You have a wide variety of meat.
Mm-hmm. See, this is something I've realized I've like. You basically get to every night make a dinner and eat with everybody. I'm like, oh, lovely.
It's pretty adorable, yeah.
Yeah.
This game seems cute.
It is so far. Oh yeah, and there's the meat. Let's eat the dried sparrow meat because I killed a lot of demon sparrows. And then we have dinner.
Yes. And now we eat. I find it interesting that those menus are very bullet-shaped. I'm sure that's not the shape they're trying to evoke. Maybe it's like a bamboo leaf, but I'm like, this looks like a bullet. It's a little weird.
Oh, that's your what's the word? That's your American influences.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm having fun with this game actually.
Well, you've been playing it for about an hour 15, so.
Hey, well, that's good time. But let's see here. Game-wise, I haven't put any more time into Persona Strikers. I don't know why. I'm just not feeling it.
It's fine.
Like,
there's definitely stuff I want to talk about, but if you're not feeling to go in the action, it's yeah.
Well, honestly, I think it's because I've been trying to make myself play it, and every time I'm just like, I need to switch it up to cleanse the palate.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Cleanse the palate. You need to recenter yourself. That's fair. This week I haven't done a lot of playing games. Period. I've like bumbled through the FGO event. I've put some time into Arknights because they are having an event right now, which is kind of interesting.
I'm dying inside that I cannot get the fucking Neural family. God.
Don't worry, Lucky. I locked that in for you. I got him. I got very lucky. I got everybody. Blumenshine's very fun.
I hurt.
But yeah, I'm not going ham on the event, but I'm making sure to check in and do stuff. There was an adorable costume for Shaw, where she's a Ghostbuster. Pretty cool. But yeah, I haven't really done anything, and actually, we had company over a couple of nights. If you don't remember from previous episodes, through the winter, my grandfather was staying with us. It's very cold where he lives, so he stayed with us in very definitely sunny Florida. Actually, it was pretty hot, some of those months. But he went back home this week, so, a couple of my aunts came over to spend the night and basically, go with him to the airport, take him back, all that fun stuff. So I haven't really, been able to go ham loud and be super loud on my console this week and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Been very relaxed, like I said, poking away at some anime stuff. And honestly, like I said, because I know the beats of old school Yu-Gi-Oh very well, it's very easy to just casually tune that in and just follow along while doing other stuff, and even just skim through some of the episodes where I'm like, yeah, nothing's happening, I know what's going on, we can just power through this. It's not a oh, this is brand new shit watching experience. Anything else I've really I know there's a couple of Amazon shows I want to watch but have not yet, both of which involve superheroes. I still haven't watched The Boys, which I've heard is very good, but also Amazon's been doing a new animated series, Invincible, which is supposed to be super, super good. And I'm like,
oh, is it? I've heard. I keep seeing it pop up.
Yes, a lot of people who have watched it said that it's pretty cool. So I'm like, I should definitely check that out sometime. But I don't know. I don't feel like I've got a good balance of all the different things I want to do right now. I need to, like you said, I need to do that kind of recenter myself and just figure out, what do I want to do? Like, I've been working a little bit on various projects back and forth. I made sure to write out my notes so we can have our game this weekend, on Sunday, because we're in a new area. So I worked on that a couple of times throughout the week, sketching out my notes and stuff. I don't know. I think I've just been having a casual time hanging out with the Yu-Gi-Oh crew a lot, off and on. I did obviously do my streaming. That was like 5 hours and stuff. But we did not have D&D this week because somebody was very sleepy. I won't name names. I won't be rude to them, but somebody did sleep. I believe they reported like 14 hours and basically missed the session, so we didn't do it. You know, that happens sometimes. So yeah, I've just been doing a lot of like hanging out, shooting the shit with people, doing other small stuff. I should probably. No, I'm sure once Lucky gets back into Strikers and we start talking about it again, I'll be like, oh damn, I do need to go back to Royal.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I haven't even like worked on my, because I think I mentioned this before last week. I was replaying Ace Combat 7. I haven't really worked on that either. I've just been kind of chilling, doing mild stuff, hanging out, watching, you know, just random stuff on the YouTubes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me, like I said, I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14, mostly with Loth.
Yeah.
Of all the people who got excited with like 14 when I said I was gonna play it, Loth is the only one who has stuck by me consistently. I appreciate you, Loth.
Mm-hmm. We have I know we have a couple people who get in there and get in with you, but it really depends on what their schedules are like.
Yeah.
I know this because some of those people are also part of my Yu-Gi-Oh crew, and it's very interesting to see the kind of the back and forth. Like with Loth, it's almost like we're divorced parents. Like Loth has to decide whether he wants to go with Lucky tonight or with Omega. Usually, I feel like he likes to default to 14 also, and I don't mind. Like I'll say this, I don't care or anything. It's funny to see that kind of like, okay, what should we do today, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Loth is definitely stuck with you very strong. I mean, you've been going pretty hard. I know they're gearing up to they've got that new expansion coming.
Yeah.
So they've done a little big update, and then they're going to do a big update later.
Yes.
Do you have anything like related to that you want to talk about? Like any particular projects you're working on, or just I'm playing.
I'm playing. Like right now, like well, it was actually kind of interesting, like because both Vesper and Law playing, and both of them ran to the end, like just blitzed through the story. Well, Law didn't blitz completely through the story. I still think he's like not fully caught up on it, but I know that they moved far ahead. Like they both went from like I think like the base game, like A Realm Reborn, which was 2.0, all the way to Shadowbringers. Shadowbringers, like pretty fast. And me, I took my time, and I'm just now getting. I'm assuming towards the end. Well, it's probably not towards the end. I'm probably past the halfway point of Shadowbringers, and so it's been a little. It's a little weird, but like I enjoy. For me, sometimes it's not just the destination; it's how you get there. Like, because like Lost in Despair just basically skipped all the like the side quests and like extra content and stuff, and I didn't like, and that's it's actually a little bit of a problem for me because,
Are you getting grossly over-leveled?
Yeah. And the level cap's only 80, so my character isn't getting any more XP, so I'm just like, I don't like this. So I go and level another character, which means I have to get them up to a point where they can go do Shadowbringers content, which takes even more time. And Loth, you know, being the good soul he is waiting on some content till I get there, and he wants to hear my reactions and stuff, because let me tell you, the Shadowbringers story is really, really good.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. So, and he wants to like hear like what I have to say on that, and we talk about it and stuff. And probably once we get done with here, I'm probably gonna go play more, and he's gonna be like, "Hey, buddy." He constantly calls me buddy. I don't know how I feel about that.
It's part of his vernacular.
It
He's
is
foreign. You understand? He's from the Upside Down. We have to let him get away with these sometimes.
I know.
That seems fair. I got Loft last night, so you can get him this night. I can go do some other stuff.
I'll pick him up soon.
I can do this other thing where, so this actually, you know, we're talking about Loth, we're talking about some of our other friends. This does actually bring up a tangent. If you don't have a lot to say about 14, I can go into. I think is pretty interesting because we like to talk about people here on our show. What's up?
We do that.
We talk about ourselves a lot, but we also talk about people we know and just the general differences in people. We're very examining like that, and we had a talk kind of over this week about like people's organizational levels. Loth is not necessarily like, at least in a like pen on paper, or digital paper anyway, way, the most organized guy.
No, he's not.
He's very steadfast in our Star Wars games, you know. He knows what his character does. He's pretty good at stuff, and he's not afraid to be good. Like, I would argue he's better than some players I've had in the past, and how some players started where he's just like, oh, I want to be good at this thing. I don't care if I'm spending premium XP. I will buy the points. I'm good at this now, right? Like, he's not afraid to spend extra XP to get skills he thinks he needs for something, you know? And he's also perfectly content to be like, oh, I got like 20 XP. I don't need to spend it. I'll save it. You know, he's very laid back, but we did have a little bit of a discussion back and forth because it came up because we did a little bit of the pre-gaming. We like to do this, right? We talked about how it was a couple sessions ago now, but when we started back up with Star Wars, we had a very long downtime where several people went kind of deep on crafting stuff and it got a little out of hand. Right? So we're like, okay, if we're making purchases or we're crafting things, let's do a little bit of pre-planning off mic for once. Because we always say we're going to do that. We don't always actually do it. Right? So we worked on that a little. But then it was like, part of it was, speaking of people we play with, it was Axe and Marth were both, you know, kind of talking back and forth with me about, like, armor options, getting some new armor for people, you know. Because, again, don't know if we need to talk about it long. Just go back and watch the AP. It's out. People watched it. The Long Fall. But everybody else, the lads set out on a little adventure all on their own. They didn't take their mommy Arama with them. And some stuff happened. Some interesting things went on. But there were some thoughts about, like, how maybe some people needed to improve some of their equipment in a couple of ways. So we got on this conversation of back and forth, and we were trying to remember because we'd had earlier conversations with Loth about his hard points, basically. How many slots for extra stuff he had in his armor. You know, if you've ever played a video game, think of it this way. You know, you find mods for your armor. You have armor mod slots. That's your hard points. And he was under the impression he had less than we thought he did, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. And one of our other players, Axe, you know, dug up his character sheet and was like, oh yeah, he has this written down wrong. I think Loth just got the columns flipped. It seems very feasible. The columns are not necessarily on, like, what goes where, always universally organized between sources, so I could see that being an easy mistake. And so that definitely turned into, like, okay, we can clean this up for Loth. We can get it flipped right around. He has more slots than he thought he did. Oh, okay. I'm not going to do another, like, 4-hour diatribe, but much like what spurred me to do my big Star Wars Space Combat homebrew, I was just staring at the list of armor mods, and I was just like, I am offended by some of these numbers.
I think it was that the more you looked at it, the more angry you got at it.
Yes. Like, as I was scrolling back and forth, because we were having this discussion of what to do with Loth's hard points now that we realized he's got some, I was just, like, looking at one that's, like, something that's, like, this costs 3 hard points. I'm like, but why? This angers me. This is legitimately bothering me right now. So I was just like, guys, I know we're like 64 episodes into the game. Do you mind if I slash some of these hard points a little? And everybody was like, nah. I'm like, okay. Like, and if you want to hear, like, my logic for that, go back and listen to that, like, last hour of What's Up last week. That was basically the same thing for, like, vehicle attachments. But, like, oh my god, I really don't understand what motivated some of these choices. Like,
oh, I have no down attack. Okay.
Fantasy Flight Games, why are you afraid of players doing things? Obviously, I get it, right. You don't want players to be able to infinitely customize everything. Otherwise, that if everything is you know, perfectly customizable, that reduces uniqueness of characters and shit, right? But some of these things, I'm like, why does the ability to have a repulsor pack where you can fly take 2 hard points? They can buy a fucking jetpack and use no hard points. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, obviously, for balance, I was like, 1 is still fine. It still should take up space. You're adding a flying thing to an armor that doesn't necessarily have it built in already. That probably takes up some of the space. But, like, 2? Similar, like, the one of them that was, like, 3 was, like, the armor spikes. It's like, oh, no, I can do a wound back to a guy who fights me. That's not horrifying at all. When I roll my own dice, player characters will do, like, you know, 15 damage back. It doesn't fucking matter. So I took a wrench to that one and slashed a lot of those. But we definitely had that back and forth conversation about, like, being organized and stuff. And that also leads me to a second point of this where one of our very organized people is Marth, one of our other players. He will often go a step beyond even me, and, like, he will make, like, functioning spreadsheets and macros and stuff to auto-calculate shit. He, like, double-checks my work a lot as well. Like, you know, he's saying, oh, hey, this doesn't have this done here. So one of the things I have been doing occasionally is chipping away at our future scheduling for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Progression tournament we're doing. I have a pretty far in advance schedule so that I can field questions, which still get asked anyway, but at least now my only response is, I just check the schedule. I have several people who would ask, when does this come out? When do we open this set? I'm just like, look at the schedule. It's all there. So, like, he's been doing arguably a very helpful thing, but also sometimes a very soul-crushing thing because, guys, producing trading cards is not always an organized and streamlined process that makes logical sense to human beings. It made sense to somebody, not to me. So he's been double-checking some of my scheduling stuff, so I've been slowly been like, oh, yeah, that did come out. That came out then. And so working on that kind of a thing. It's very helpful, but also I pray for everybody's soul. Yeah, I'll say, Axe, you're also you want to be very organized. Sometimes I think you get a little too concerned about making sure you're pre-organized and optimized, but in general, your level of organization is good. And since Loth is not necessarily the best at organization, and if it's not actively hurting him, it just doesn't really bother him, which I won't say is a positive or negative, he's just not bothered. It's nice to have other players who are supportive and just like, no, don't worry, I can hook you up with that. Like,
yeah, here's the thing. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Here's the thing, Axe. You make him an equipment plan, you still have to remember, Loth has to remember what he has in the first place.
Well, Axe found out that he still has permissions to, like, edit Loth's character sheet, so
yeah.
Loth has already positioned him for some extra custodial effort, so
yeah.
We can work that out, and we can figure out the system of, like, what works best for him, to get in there and do some stuff.
Okay, maybe.
Like, we have this back and forth, too, sometimes in D&D, where it's like, I don't want to say any one player is particularly more organized, and as a GM, Vesper, our DM, is more, I would say, more interventionist than me sometimes. Like, Vesper's not afraid to get in there and be like, hey, you guys got your character sheet set up for the next level. Do you need help with anything, Do you need to, like, track some stuff down, which is helpful. I'm usually not that. I think I at several points said, like, I don't look at your character sheets, guys. I'm going to trust that you have them organized, and if you say something I think is wrong, I'm going to be like, hold on a minute, run that by me again? So, as a game master, I think sometimes for running certain games, you need to be a little more paying attention than other times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, player characters can mismanage things. And I don't want to make it sound like Vesper is, like, micromanaging us. Like, Vesper is not watching all of our character sheets every minute, but Vesper will also be like, and it's also because we're on Roll20 as well, so it's all in. It is a one-stop shop. But it's like, hey, did you guys remember to get all your bonuses in? Or, some of our player characters are doing a lot of weird stuff. I think I've mentioned this before. Dallas's character is a barbarian cleric. But the type of barbarian and the type of cleric he is are also, as a barbarian, he's basically a baby paladin. And as a cleric, he's an arcane cleric, so he's a baby wizard. So he's like 4 dudes at once. Which means that sometimes it's very fucky with what spells he gets and what his bonus is and what goes where when he levels up. So, usually Vesper is on the ball and being like, this is not right, or, giving him that hand. And everybody willing to come together is, like, very good. I in general think that most tabletop RPGs should be cooperative. And if they're being competitive, you should actually, like, outline that immediately off the top so everybody understands we're all in here the same, Same if you're doing, like, PvP and stuff. Because unplanned and unauthorized PvP is very frustrating for a lot of people. But, like, that cooperation extends out of game as well. If you, like, see that a person's, like, made an error or has, like, forgotten a thing and there's, like, an easy way to do that negotiation down, you can be like, oh, I can help organize that for you. Like, don't be like an asshole about it, Like, don't be like, your character sheet makes me cringe. Let me fix that for you. But, like, definitely, like, a little bit of, like, oh, we could do some intervention. And I think sometimes that is the GM's job, and sometimes it's not. Like, sometimes your GM doesn't need to micromanage you. Well, it's over there. He may have been on his phone before. But, yeah, it's an interesting back and forth.
I don't know. Well, I guess this is because I'm kind of, like... Lucky's kind of fiercely independent.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, because I definitely say I'm not as organized as Moth, but I'm definitely more organized than Axe and than Loth. Like, so you look at my character sheets and like, cause I have spreadsheets like with all my XP and purchases in game. I actually have a loadout written down of where things are carried on my character and whatnot.
Well, and some of that I think is from. There's also some like past experience. Like this is both Axe and Loth's first time with the game. Like some of these questions you have on your character sheet, you've learned from playing 2 or 3 campaigns of this already. You're like, okay, I will need to know this for later.
So, but it's like one of those things is like if I think I would like honestly get upset if I had someone constantly, hey, do you remember this? Hey, do you remember that? You know, doing this, and because most of the time I'd be like, yes, I did.
Well, and I think that's because you do actually, right? Like you actually have done the organizational level. That's like if you get again. This is why I'm like I'm not too micromanage me, and maybe I'm spoiled by you and Marth, but I'm like you guys know what the fuck you're doing. Sometimes your math is better than my math, so you know whatever floats your character sheet boat. Similarly, I don't think I whatchamacallit, I don't think I like looked at anybody's character sheets for the sprawl either. I just wrote down any proper nouns you gave me. And obviously, like, I have a memory. I can remember, like, oh, hey, did you take the blah, blah, blah move? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And, you know, sometimes I had to take notes on that, and sometimes I didn't. But definitely there's a level of, like, no, I feel like I can trust my players to know what the fuck they've got with their character sheet notes. Which is why I said, like, I'm not very interventionist, but I can see why it works for some games and some gamers. And, like, I would definitely not approach micromanaging Lucky's character sheet at any point where I'm like, Lucky knows what he's doing. Like, I don't need to constantly shout out, oh, did you remember this? Now, obviously, occasionally we are like, wait, did we remember this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you should take notes then. I gotta be real, I don't take notes in our D&D game, but I'm a -1 int paladin, so, like, the fact that sometimes I remember stuff wrong works.
Yeah.
I do take notes that are important to me, so. But yeah, I am not the meticulous note taker in our game. I just do happen to have a decent memory, so occasionally out of character I remember stuff. Note taking is another thing that's very, very situational and very player specific, right?
Yeah, I take a fair amount of notes in our current Star Wars games, but that's because usually I'm coming off with weird ass plans that have actually nothing to do with the mechanics of the game.
Right. You're taking notes because you want to be able to reference them later.
Yeah.
Some of which I translate to my own notes, and some of which I'm like, you've got notes. You'll remember if I bring this up to you. I'll be like, hey, what did you want to do about that thing that one time? You'll be like, let me just look here. Peer over glasses. Yes, line 46, item B. You know. But then there are other times where, like, if we were playing definitely more, and we've actually done this in the past. When I ran part of my Eclipse Phase campaign, the whole party had a communal notes document where everybody could take their own notes, sometimes in character, and like figure out what leads they thought were important, what facts they got on their own, what facts they got as a group, and kind of like compare everything together. Because it was a very heavy investigatory game, so keeping notes and tracking leads was very important. And while Eclipse Phase has rules for like, okay, roll this to like remember something, or just buy eidetic memory, which you can get an eidetic memory like 3 or 4 different ways. At that point, you're just like, GM, I have an eidetic memory. Tell me. The GM's like, okay. But it does still matter for you guys as players to remember some of this stuff, so you take your notes because it's an investigatory game. That's very different than if we were doing. Not that I think I've definitely never run just a straight up dungeon crawl, loot and scoot kind of a campaign. But like, if we were doing that, your notes would be much more limited. They would probably be limited to like dungeon puzzles and shit. Like, yes, we found a weird tablet puzzle here. How do we solve it? You know, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, because also out of character or out of game puzzles, which are too big brain, are kind of annoying to me.
Yeah.
It's neat, but also it's like, okay, but like I don't think it's come up a lot with us, but it would definitely be kind of frustrating for me, like in my game right now, like if Vesper clapped us with a full blown like, you know, well, probably not the famous Varanasi Towers or whatever thing BioWare puts in all their things. I'm actually bad at that puzzle.
The what thing?
I don't remember what it's called. It's like the tower and ring game that is in a lot of BioWare shit.
Oh, it's the one where you have to like take the rings and make it like the smallest from the largest, go from the largest to the smallest or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I know those.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's a very famous logic puzzle. I don't remember the name for it, but like that, I'm just bad at those. But other different kinds of like spatial relation puzzles or riddles, I would probably be okay at out of character. But at the same time, again, I just mentioned I'm playing a paladin with -1 int. Big brain stuff is not me, so it would not necessarily make sense for me to solve those puzzles in character. So that's always like a weird breaking the fourth wall kind of a thing. And of course, like as fun as it is to write some of these puzzles and like write some of these things, because I've definitely done simple like puzzles that are not necessarily int based but more like clue based, you know, kind of a thing, you know, because ruins and puzzles are very classic genre tropes of a lot of things, so it's pretty nice. But you want to be careful with it. But like, if you call for a skill check, you know, there's that. I mean, yeah, Axe brings up Resident Evil puzzles. Like when you went to the Spooky Manor, which was very Resident Evil House inspired, there were quote unquote puzzles in it, but it was more just like,
go find the item.
I see. Yeah, it was like, I see. This is a list that lets me know when I've got to do stuff. And like, there were sometimes booby traps with signs around some of the keys you needed to open the plot coupon door. But they were, again, not necessarily like real life, like, you know, what's the fake thing here kind of a thing. It was more just like, okay, what will open this door? Okay, it's these things. Let's keep an eye out for it. Oh, I see one. What's the reason why I can't just walk up and take it kind of a thing, you know? Like, more based on, like, clues, observation, and skill rolls, not raw, out-of-character player intellect. Similarly, it's why, like, as much as I like for you to have, and you like to have, like, you actually figure out what you're going to say, why you're going to say it, and what it means kind of a thing.
Fuck, I'm almost dead again. Yeah.
Like, when you do social stuff.
Yeah.
Also, I just let you roll because your character's really good at that. So there's definitely some, like, interplay of, like, okay, I want to know what the text you're asking, saying, persuading is, but also roll your dice so that we just figure it out, and then we go from there.
Yeah, I think recently I tried to not necessarily fully talk out, but try and say what the gist of what I'm saying is. I try to. I like talking. Oh, I died.
And it's semi-important because sometimes specific wording matters, sometimes it doesn't. But in general, it's always good to like make sure your players get their angle out in the quote unquote text. Obviously, usually we're speaking, but you know the text of the work of what they're saying should get out there.
Okay.
And that can kind of, because you never know. Like they may make a really good point that you're like, okay, that's fine, you know, that you know, maybe makes it easier, that makes it kind of slower. Oh no, you accidentally said something that pisses off this very specific character.
Yeah, I think in our Star Wars games you have given me bonuses by like, you know, appealing to like certain parts of conversation and whatnot.
I don't remember if that's written into the somewhat vague and slightly tacked on social combat system of Star Wars, but that's definitely how Genesis is supposed to run, because that puts a lot more emphasis on being able to use the system to engage in social conflicts and on characters' motivations. So yeah, definitely like hitting something that is important to the character you're trying to persuade, intimidate, whatever, you know, should give situational modifiers and change things up a little, you know? Just as like, you know, say, it's really hard to interrogate some kind of, you know, really big head case hard-ass guy versus a rando you got off the street kind of a thing, you know? It's all checks and balances, and the dice exist for a reason. And sometimes the dice should not be involved, but most of the time the dice are involved. Kind of a thing. Okay. I think I got a couple of ways you can go in there. I think one that might be more related, which is pretty interesting, is the next L5R book has hit street date. It's not online yet, but they released Fields of Victory, the Lion Clan themed source book, which is pretty interesting.
Interesting.
From what people have said online, it's got some interesting sounding schools in it.
Damn it. Okay.
Not anything that I think, not school-wise, I think that necessarily applies to you, Lucky, because I think your pre-established character is pretty good at what he is where he is now, you know?
Yeah.
I think they So this is basically a meme at this point, but I believe they added a school to the Yogo family, which is also a monk school. So basically, if you're a Yogo, you can be all the clan. I gotta admit, I think there might be some slight, not like problems, but some slight apprehension behind the scenes of what the fuck to do with the Scorpion clan. Their schools are a little all over the place, but they got some solid basis. But they've got a couple of different ones that do different things. There's a new Agasha school. There's 2 new Lion Clan schools, which kind of plan some different things. One of them is Matsu Beastmaster, which is all about, having an animal buddy.
Animal buddies are cool.
There's a lot of emphasis on unarmed combat in this because one of the schools is a grappling school for a minor clan. So that's kind of cool, fighting unarmed, give you new techniques. That's something that hasn't been fully explored yet. But most of the book is about, interesting enough, mass combat, which is pretty cool. Mass combat is a little simplified in the core book, as a lot of mechanics tend to be. It's the core book. It's like, here's your skeleton, go from here. But the Fields of Victory book introduces some new terrain types, some new ways to handle mass combat, some stuff that I know not that the combat I've got in mind would be mass combat heavy, but just stuff I know Lucky will like in general. It's got rules and mechanics for how to raise your army and how to supply your army long term.
Mm-hmm. Well, that'd be interesting to think about.
Oh, I'm sure it has the thing for, arming the peasantry. It's got a shitload of new titles, which are good. The titles are a very expansive system to add to stuff, And just in general, seems like it's got a lot of techniques which have to do with mass combat stuff, which is cool. I like how this edition of the game very seamlessly blends social and actual fighting options. You can be a courtier, you can be a completely social character, but you can take techniques that allow you to matter in combat where you mostly yell at people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty cool. There's a couple of new weapons which are interesting. Like they finally started the Nagamaki, the long handle. Which if you don't know, a Nagamaki is basically the roughly contiguous blade shape and size with a katana, but the handle is usually about twice the size. I believe it literally translates to long wrapping. So it's basically you can use it as a slightly awkward sword or also use it more like a polearm, so it's got some flexibility, which is kind of cool, and I know a lot of people wanted it. And it sounds interesting. I depending on how I feel and how long it takes, I may or may not do a full breakdown on this channel once it comes to drive through and goes on to the PDF, which I will be buying. But it's good to see that content's still coming out. I'll be interested to hear from Edge Studios, who's taken over the L5 RPG, about the next book, Rid of the Wilds, because that's going to be the Dragon Clan book, and that's probably going to have some weird shit in it, because it's also about like wilderness stuff. So I don't necessarily have to rewrite my entire campaign for what content is in the Lion book, but it will definitely give me some new stuff. I'll have to skim back over my notes and maybe add some new things, because they've got like they've got rules for like open versus enclosed terrain kind of a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and making things simpler. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. We could throw some stuff in there. It's an interesting system. We'll get to it eventually. We got a lot of shit in our backlog.
We really do.
We're growing a lot of rice.
Yep. Well, probably not
The
a lot
rice
of
is almost as tall as you. I mean, yeah, arguably not a lot because you got a lot of paddy left, but the rice you've planted is, as tall as you are.
Yeah.
But mass combat's definitely an interesting topic because I don't want to say we newly started because we are 64 episodes in, 64 sessions into our Star Wars campaign-ish. So, like, that has been a major factor ever since we started, but it definitely feels like it's a thing that we've gotten very comfortable and relaxed with, just like, we'll just make it a mass combat. As opposed to vehicle stuff, which we are still bad at. We are so out of practice with pure vehicle combat stuff that, like, it requires a little prep time to be like, okay, guys, we're going to do vehicle things.
Yeah, we were talking about this last week, about like, how they had to streamline it a little bit.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily know if we went focused, I would incorporate my homebrew straight up into our current campaign or what, but like, because it is a pretty big, beefy overhaul. But there's definitely some things there of like, us having to go back through space combat stuff again definitely made me think some of those thoughts. I'm like, this could be way more streamlined.
Well, for my case, since I almost never have to deal with vehicle actions, it would literally be, if you hand me the homebrew, I'm like, yes, these are the rules. Because I would have to go relearn the fucking vehicle combat anyway.
I mean, it's true, and you almost never take any of the like there's a couple of fun vehicle actions for more like talky support characters, but definitely like it's mostly in the skill sets of our other player characters.
Oh, I can rest? What happens if I rest? I just literally chill on the fucking porch. Do nothing. That's great. Living my best life.
Very on theme.
Living my best life.
With, is that a tiny dog?
It's a sword spirit thing. I'm not sure.
Ah.
Although I did come to the conclusion of if we ever do get to your squadrons game, I still want to be the pirate leader commander. I'm just gonna do like maybe a Chara's noble thing. It's like, all right, we're getting against me. Get me my ship. Then I put on my helmet, switch my cape. XO, you have the bridge.
Capes are important.
Capes are important. No, because I was thinking about that, because you actually did say that, like, if you did this game, you want everyone in a fight, and I was all like, yeah, but...
I would definitely want, at some point I would want everybody in fighters.
Yeah, so it was like, yeah, but the thing I found that I found weird about that is, fighters are small. And when you have fighters, you need, like, you know, maintenance, things, you know, places to put
There's a decent amount of logistics that go into it, yes.
Yeah, so it was just like, are we living out of our fighters? Like, all that stuff. I was like... Because, unfortunately, Lucky's a bit of a control freak. Mm-hmm. He likes being in control. This is honestly why a lot of games he's involved in turns into some sort of development simulator in one way or another.
Lucky likes to seize the means of production.
I do. And
yeah, and I mean, you asked that question, and like, you make me think about it. I'm like, would you be living out of your fighters? And it would be like, well, it would depend on the state of the campaign we're in. There would definitely be choices you could make where you would be living out of your fighters through your own actions or inactions.
Yeah. So I was like, no, I'll try. Like, I'll put my story as, you know, become, some big dick swing, and I'll have big ships, but I'll leave the commanding of them in battle to other people. I'm gonna go around and go pew pew in our ships and stuff.
And, you know, having support set up and backup is very important, and is a decent part of the genre, you know, carriers and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah,
you need to have ships to have those, you need to have carriers to have those sick carrier takeoff sequences, like it's the start of Top Gun.
But, yeah, like, again, I don't know how much longer a Star Wars game is. Like, you're talking about in, like, maybe, like, the months time frame.
Yes. Like, if it's not... I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot. Be sure to clip this in the future. But if it's not done by the end of this year, I will be surprised. But, like, that's the kind of time scheme I'm looking at here. Like, it's... I have come to accept that the way I write stories and the way my players play these stories is, like, nothing goes quite as fast as I think it will, and I don't actually give a shit. So, you know, I don't mind, you know, writing around the stuff. Like, I talked about this earlier. I wrote my notes for this week. And I was like, I even said this earlier when I brought it up. I'm like, okay, my notes for this week are done. We're probably going to need to, like, stop for me to write more script. Like, we may have to do a hard stop if we push too far, but it's at a very natural fork point where I assume we're probably going to stop for the night anyway. So it's fine. Like, I have the body of my notes to give you guys the info you need to pick your decision tree. And we may have to stop there so I can actually fill that out. But I'm naturally assuming, because there will be some downtime, so people have been talking about it, like, you've got some other macro scale plans to put in order, again, of course.
Yeah.
And just some natural consequence stuff of what's going on. You know, we've been talking about that as well. So, like, that'll be a little bit of downtime, and then we'll actually shift to the thing. There'll be a lot of yelling and screaming, running around. Then it'll be actually planning, gathering info, and I'm like, then I'll give, you know, I eventually will reach the point where you guys have to make, you know, decisions on things that kind of properly fork out, you know, into actual splits in the writing. And then I'm like, yeah, no, we'll just stop there then. If what I give you the information you need to make the choice, and then I can be like, okay, let's pause and let's see if I need to, like, tune this up a little. And maybe I don't. Maybe you guys will have all the stuff you need, and while we'll probably not get all of the content done in one session because we're us. Listen, I've been running this game for 64 episodes. I know how it works. But, you know, maybe I can, in fact, with the notes I've got, improv all the way. Talking about, like, game master writing, I definitely have different levels of detail I like to write to. Like, for the Sprawl, that was very loose in general. It was like, I wrote a few paragraphs of content about the target, and I wrote down a lot of names you gave me, and that was it. Everything else was just like looking at my move lists, looking at stuff you brought me, and asking you guys questions about things. And depending on what we're doing for Star Wars, some of my notes are very much more detailed. Like, okay, well, if you're approaching a very specific place, I like to be like, okay, here's a layout to some rooms, some areas, some whatever. And other times I'm just like, yeah, all the rooms in this building don't fucking matter. So you just go to the place that matters.
That's one way to do it.
Star Wars is really geared towards that kind of, like, by being quote unquote cinematic, is very much geared towards that kind of thing. If there's nothing interesting in like 4 rooms, you just cut those rooms out of the movie. Nothing happened to them. We just cut. And like sometimes the players will ask questions and you got to be fast on your feet and improv, you know? They got to be like, you know, if you're like, oh, there's just storage in this room, players might be like, what kind of storage? With the obvious undertone of like what can I steal here?
Exactly.
And then you got to make some shit up, but usually that's pretty loosey-goosey. Like, I don't know, you're in a criminal hideout. It's full of crime stuff. Nope, like he's figuring out things.
Oh no, I got a new raiment skill, and it actually lets me toss things now. So I'm like, fuck you. I threw it into a rock, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, you're improving. And like I said, when you were talking about it earlier, 2 hours ago. Actually, it wasn't 2 hours ago. It was like maybe an hour and a half ago tops before you fought that guy. I was like, you'll definitely level it up. You'll do new stuff. You're learning. You're getting cool things.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. I'm gonna use it a lot.
Sense of growth and progression is very important. It helps things out. Not to harp on it again too much, but I have been very into the format is called progression of our Yu-Gi-Oh thing lately, because I think we've hit a point where I actually feel the progression part. Like, some of the decks we're doing, and me especially, are like actually like really changing and growing from week to week. To like 1 week I'll build a deck and be like, this isn't any good this week, and then the next week comes and I'm like, ooh, I'm excited to play this week, and then the next deck I'm like, man, this is really good this week. Like I feel really good about like actually doing the format, doing the games. Sometimes I feel good about the recording. I had to rejigger my whole setup again because I was an idiot and I just turned on my default for streaming and it worked. But then I was like, oh shit, me, I have to like manually micromanage my settings for recording now. So I'm probably not gonna just let it full reset next time. We'll figure some other shit out. But if there's a couple of, I believe there's at least one match that's a little janky. I'm sorry, but you know, it's a work in progress and stuff. And someday I'll have a even betterer machine with betterer parts that hopefully has less problems. But maybe how it be.
That would be.
So like, that's the same way for like, if you think about it, that's a very fundamental game design thing just in general. Like, a lot of people find the progression, if not outright fun. Like, some people are purely entertained by playing D&D to level up, you know? But if not the actual literal progression is fun, the sense of progression is the entertaining bit, you know? You unlocked a new thing to throw, guys. It's very funny watching you throw woodland creatures into rocks.
Oh, sorry, no, I'm looking at this thing that Axe is saying. I'm trying to understand it. So, excuse me.
Oh, you probably won't because you don't get the context. Axe is... We joke about Axe as the champ because Axe is currently, and I did mention this last week, he's currently our top-rated player. He has the most statistical... Yes, he has the most wins and he has the best win-loss ratio in the progression tournament, which is very funny because... I don't necessarily want to say Axe is a sore winner. Sometimes he is.
Oh,
but...
no, I'll definitely say he's a sore winning. Axe definitely has this thing of when he does good, he wants people to know that he did good.
Well, that's not always it. Also, the other thing is sometimes Axe is like, oh, I feel really bad about how you didn't do good and I defeated you. And most everybody else in the tournament is like, shut the fuck up, Axe. I don't want your pity. So there's been a lot of like slow, like Axe's character arc and progression is slowly coming to terms for the fact that he is good at Yu-Gi-Oh! And should not feel bad about occasionally destroying us in a randomized card game.
Okay.
But yeah, no, there are some times when it's like it, and I mean we all have that. Like I've taken some losses where I'm like, yeah, I'm a little bitter about that. That just did not work out like how I wanted.
No.
And also like just talking about like, you know,
Oh, I am full health.
Man, that guy really just came the fuck out of nowhere to kill you.
Yeah, no, birds are dangerous.
He was coming right for you. But I'm like, there's also for me, there's the added aspect of like it's on recording, so I'm like, oh, that match wasn't very good for the audience, you know. But it's a fucking children's card game. We're doing it for fun. I'm definitely just like, nah, I'm over it. There's a couple of minutes of like a little bit of sassiness. Several of us like to deliberately be sassy on camera for entertainment value. Dallas is great at this, but I've seen several other people exaggerate for the camera, so it just be how it be. But yeah, like it's Axe's character arc, like I said, is just him trying to come to accept and like outwardly project the fact that he's at the top of the bracket, and that does mean that we're all trying to murder him. That's what happens when you're the best, when you're number one, Chief.
Yep, you built this grave. Now lie in it.
And I mean, it's not like we want him to throw. No, we want him to be good. We want to beat him now. It's how competition works. Like, we're not seriously competing, but it is a competitive nature, so, we need a little bit of that energy to go. And hopefully it makes for an entertaining product. But yeah, just that kind of, like, leveling up, growing stuff is very good, and, like, honestly, even thinking about, we joke about you seizing the means of production, that's a form of progression as well, where you're just like, hold on, wait a minute, there's a lot of variables here, I want to, like, take control of some of those and actually, like, improve them so they do stuff for me.
Yeah.
That's the source of a lot of stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, like how some people are like just into D&D for level ups. I'm not. I appreciate a level up because I'm like, oh look, I gained a new cool thing. Or sometimes I'm like, I've leveled up and not a lot has changed.
Just fucking gone. I love eating things just off the.
Yeah.
Oh, regrets. Oh, I'm dead again. The bunnies have killed me.
Yeah, one of those guys had a bomb.
Yeah.
I'm watching the tiny preview screen. Was that a bunny with a bomb? Or was
that was a bunny with a bomb. That was a bunny bomb.
Yep. Curse you, gunpowder. Oh, actually, that's another thing I should throw out there. For people who are old school fans of L5R, that is actually another thing that is in the Lion book, is they talk about what is colloquially called the Gaijin pepper or blasting powder. So black powder stuff is in there a little, which is supposed to be, super secret, illegal, but also warfare stuff. So that's fun.
I think I might need to get a level up here somehow. Get better equipment.
Yeah, I don't really... So you've been playing this game for 2 hours. Do you have any, like, interesting, fun thoughts about the mechanics and stuff you want to describe to people at home if they've just been, like, casually listening and not watching?
Okay, so I like this combat. I really do. The combat, like, it's basic... I wouldn't say it's, like maybe... It's kind of Spectacle Fighter light, but only because of the fucking raiment and the weird shit that you can, like, do with it. Like...
Got a lot of those,
I died again.
Maybe not full action RPG vibes, but definitely got a lot of your cool modern hack and slashes.
Yeah. So like I said, like I have my light attack, I have my heavy attacks. If you push a direction button on it, I'll do an upward attack, and then I can launch him and then fucking fight in the air. I can get special moves to do things. And it seems like there's actually a bit of amount of mechanics of launching enemies into other enemies or into walls. See, because I can just literally just launch those fucking things into the mushroom. The mushroom just launched advance back at me, and I fucking, kept fighting it. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, there's some interesting combo extension stuff going on.
So, and here with the rabbit here, I can throw it back into them. All that stuff.
A valid question in the chat. Is there a quick heal system?
Not that I know of. From what I understand, when I eat dinner, I fill up a fucking hunger meter. And when I'm not in combat, that restores my health. But when I'm out of my hunger meter, I'm currently hungry, and I don't heal anymore, and I lose bonuses.
Okay, alright.
So there's no quick heal.
Yeah, in the moment, there's no healing. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not always my favoriteest sort of mechanic, but, it can make sense for the game to game.
Ah, fuck. This boar is kicking my ass. It charges me, I lose all my health. I die. I think I need to get, a new weapon or something.
Boars are fuckers. Yeah, okay. So my next vaguely tabletop-related topic I can also talk about.
Yay.
Which is, I've been watching there's a game out there, a board game that I'm actually, I'm really tracking the history of because it seems super cool. I've been watching a YouTube channel play it in a series. It's called The King's Dilemma, and it is a Very story heavy, but it is a generational game.
Mm-hmm.
Of basically noble houses in a fictional kingdom. So it's very obviously like taking a lot of lines from like Game of Thrones. Like all the houses have little icons and banners, and they have little mottos, which are dumb. But it's a game that's played in generations, right? And then like at the end of each generation, you score that generation, and then whoever was top scoring gets to marry into the royal family. So you get to decide like the name of the next king that goes down in the ledger book, and like you get some extra influences and stuff on things that come kind of back and forth. And it seems really cool. It's pretty new. I believe it was like Kickstarted or something last year. But it just in general it seems rad because it's called the King's Dilemma because basically what your role is the players are on the King's Council, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you're making big nationwide sweeping decisions. You're advising the king on matters for whatever purposes. And the way the physical game works is you have these various decks of story cards with more dilemmas and other future shit in there, which are stored in envelopes. So when you solve a dilemma and you pick a different path in the story, it branches. You open up a fucking envelope. You shuffle those new dilemmas in. Sometimes you get new like standing events that kind of gives that stuff and down. Like it just unfolds new stories. And sometimes it's very funny because like I said, I've been watching a YouTube channel, Funhouse, if anybody's interested. They do a board game show, and I'll warn people ahead of time if you're there for like the pure spirit of the game. It's not necessarily set up to be a perfect teacher. They do get better and better about using post-production editing to like add new tips so you can track the game better as the episodes have been released, because they're releasing like one a week when obviously they played it in like a single sitting for like 8 hours or something.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell this because they're sponsored by DoorDash and they've gotten at least 2 meals delivered so far in the greater canon of the filming, so they were there for a while. But they do extra YouTuber spice. They're like they're physically in studio. I'm sure they're doing COVID safety, so don't worry about that. But like, they do some costuming, they do funny voices and stuff. So if that's not to your taste, maybe wait for something else. But it's a very interesting game to watch, and like it's just very interesting to see. Like sometimes it's like I said earlier, it's very silly. Where like I think at the last dilemma of episode 1, they get asked like, there are rumors of a weird witch lady in the forest. Do we send some knights to find this witch? And they do, actually. They decide they're going to find the witch. They start a quest. In the episode that just released to public today, which is episode 5, I believe, they finally find that goddamn witch and bring her back. Now, they do point out that, like, this woman seems, like, weirdly young and pretty. So maybe, like, it works out in the greater narrative. But also, that's very silly. Like, this is literally, like, shit from, like, 5 generations ago has finally come up. So, like, it can obviously get a little weird.
Clearly she's using black magic.
I mean, I think that's the undertone. Like, it seems very Game of Thrones inspired, like I said, in terms of, like, dynamics, but also in terms of setting. Like, there are definitely some, like, potentially subtle magical things going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I wouldn't be shocked if there are some justifications. And to be fair, the generational bit is, like, they don't have to be long generations, obviously. Like, basically, so you start with a generation, right? It comes back, you're all the counselors, you represent these houses. Your own houses have your own, like, goals and achievements. Like, your house.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about that. So they went through 5 generations of knights trying to figure out this fucking witch. They just come. there was just probably like a good 50 to 100 years of just dudes wandering around the wood trying to find this historic witch lady. It's like, my son, we went on this quest 80 years ago. My father's father started it, and now it's up to you to complete it. Because, I'm sorry, I'm just...
Yeah, so there's a lot of the fun in there. Like, it builds its own narrative through the generations, which is sometimes very interesting and sometimes very derp.
I think it's kind of cool, but also derp at the exact same time.
Like, it makes for good storytelling, and it makes games different every time, right? Because you won't always make the same decisions and stuff. And, like I said, each house has its own backstory and, like, achievements. You also have a system of hidden agendas, so you will, like, pick different cards at the start of the game, so you will know, like, what your position is.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got a couple of different trackers. There's, like, a board to track, like, different resources in your kingdom, and sometimes you're like, I think it's called like opportunist. Is like opportunity exists when things are shitty, so you want to put all the resources to the bottom. So you'll make decisions that lower all your resources and stuff to make your score higher for more influence. There's another agenda which is like the opposite of that. I believe it's opulent, which is you want just there to be lots of fucking everything, you know. And there's a lot of like interplay between the different directions they go and whatnot. So it's quite interesting. But the way that you actually end a generation comes one of two ways. If your realm's resources get too excuse me, sorry. Let me drink some more water real quick.
Hydrate or dihydrate.
It's funny, I streamed for like 5 hours on Among Us, and I don't think I was very dry throated, but we've only been doing this like 2 hours, and I feel.
Listen, you talk a fuck ton, my dude.
It's true. I'm a very fast talker. I save a lot of my talking for these episodes. Also, to be fair, the thing I was going to bring up about Among Us was I was dead a lot, so I didn't have to do a lot of yelling about shit. A lot of times I got murdered first.
A lot of times in Let's Talk FGO, I will be like, no, Mega, it's me time to talk. But on once, I'm like, dude, just go.
Well, yeah, and I like to do the flip side. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to take a break. Hey, Lucky, you want to talk about this thing? You like quietly sip my water. Yeah, big sip.
Oh, man, I don't have any sip energy today. Damn it.
No, you had a lot of sip energy on Let's Talk yesterday, though. Perfect timing, my dude. But yeah, what I was saying was that at the end, basically, if your resources get too out of whack, there's like a little tracker for balance. If it goes too high or too low, your king abdicates. He's just like, shit's too chaotic. I gotta get out of here. You know. And if the generation goes on too long, just the result of certain dilemmas are like, if this is like placed in a certain time slot, the king's dead. He's just died of old age, you know. Or possibly being murdered in war or something, I'm sure, as well. But it's time-based, so you don't always know when shit's gonna end, and like sometimes that comes back to bite you. One of the players in the series, like that's on YouTube, they got an event to open a bank, right? A bank got opened, so you can invest coins into your bank to get more money, because you do have a money resource, which you can actually spend for binding votes in the council meetings. You can be like, I shall give you a shiny coin if you vote aye. Kind of a thing, right? So you could invest and possibly double your investment, but if you hit the end of a generation, your money just goes away, it's lost. So like you have to pick your timing, and sometimes it just doesn't fucking come up because this deck full of dilemmas is getting bigger and bigger each time. So I'm like, this game seems super rad, even a little complex. I'm basically just waiting for like either a full-blown like online app version or somebody to make a serious business TTS mod for this, because I would love to get in there. But it's got a lot of like text and shit. Like there's, like I said, there's envelopes full of the dilemma cards. There's a system of like stickers which kind of like influence future generations and so on and so forth. So like I can understand why it hasn't shown up on TTS yet, but it's like, it seems like a really rad game that I'm very interested in. It's called The King's Dilemma again, guys. You know, if I had anybody to play with it, I'd buy it physically, but that would be dumb, so I won't.
Hey, don't say that. I buy board games on the dream of one day I'll get to play it with somebody.
Oh, I mean, I've purchased a couple, but it's a fairly chunky board game, so I'm like...
Yeah, I guess that's true. I only buy smaller games, but I look at it and it's like $49.99. I'm like, nope.
Yeah, I believe that is about what, if not a little more, is what King's Dilemma is like on Amazon. But like, occasionally they've been like, I can buy like Cards Against Humanity type stuff. Like, I could pay like $20 for a deck of cards, basically.
I mean, well, no, I guess it is kind of the same, but kind of not. But say you buy physical Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but that's more collecting than playing.
Yeah, that has collectible stuff. It's a different kind of thing. Like, that's much like we've talked about this. I rate it as the way you've described it. It's similar to how you feel about like collecting physical video game copies. Yeah. Yep. I'm like, listen, I genuinely just like the act of like opening some packs, seeing what I get, slipping some stuff in binders, and being like, that's neat. That's cool. And then sometimes you get some shit and I'm like, sick. That's great.
Hell yeah. I just need that image of that bird just going, hell yeah. What was it? False Knees?
Yes, The King's Dilemma on Amazon is currently $67.38. And I'm like, nah, it's a chunky boy.
That's chunky.
I don't want to go there quite yet, but, you know. There's some fun stuff out there. But yeah, so like I said, if I can ever find, you know, hell, we'll go on Steam right now. I'll find a tabletop simulator. I don't have any immediate plans to do it, but that is definitely also there will probably be some TTS streams in the future. Eventually, we like board games.
We do.
But that would definitely be a fun like sub-series thing because again, I mean they're editing these obviously and they're cutting them down, but they're like every generation is like a like 40 minutes to an hour long episode they produce. So I'm like, yeah, like that would probably be like maybe a couple of streams or like one big longer stream or several cut down episodes of shit. So I don't know about that like scheduling and stuff. It doesn't seem as apeshit as like something like I forget what the M in Kingdom Death Monster stands for. Is it a monster?
Probably Monster.
Kingdom Death Madness? I don't know, but that's like a long ass game. Hey, the workshop button.
Law says Monster.
Yeah. Like that's a game that like you have to sit down and play for several days to actually get anywhere with, or you all die immediately and the game's over.
Ta-da! This is why I don't play Monopoly.
There's a lot of reasons not to play Monopoly, actually.
Yeah, actually, but I was about to say, it's like, I don't play Monopoly, but I'll play the fuck out of Arkham Horror.
That's another long-term game.
I have never... Well, actually, no. I actually have one / lost a couple games with Arkham Horror. But it's usually from people being super on the ball. Super ball. Nah, I don't know. I'm talking weird now. I'm feeling dead air.
Yeah, because Omega's trying to look something up, and it's difficult sometimes.
Grow my rice. Oh, it is time to harvest the rice. Now is the time. All right, let's see here.
Oh, it's a Civ 6 update. Was that balance update they were talking about?
I did hear something about that.
Yeah, they planned for a update rebalancing. They were gonna adjust some leader stuff and do some things.
Behold my swift moves on these rice.
Oh, and Portugal got added. Neat. I think they did also add a couple of fun units. I've kind of tailed off in my Civ playthrough. I powered through some stuff with some of the new systems, and I'm like, okay, I've won like 3 or 4 games versus A. I'm over it. But
I wonder if we should get back into Stellaris or Civ. I haven't played either of them in a bit.
Nope, Stellaris has an update queued as well. I'm gonna assume. I get a lot of Steam updates queued. Steam, you should be doing more updates on your own, buddy. Pal, friend, me out here. But I'm assuming that is.
I was about to say, is your Steam open all the time? Like, I manually close my Steam, so it's not doing shit in the background. Trust me.
No, I'm an animal man, and I usually have Steam start on launch, so it doesn't have to boot when I want to play games. So it should be doing more of this shit in the background. Oh, well, whatever. I can queue up manual shit, you know. Maybe it's just like, bro, you haven't played this game in like 2 months. Do you really need that update? But yeah, Stellaris is queuing up for the new DLC, which will be soon.
Soon, TM.
The TTS is an update queue, but I will go to Workshop and I will search King's Dilemma. I don't believe the Stellaris DLC is out yet, but soon.
Also, yes, Law. Anytime I mention that I'm lost in time and space, I'm directly referencing Arkham Horror. Because it makes me giggle.
What's the context of that from Arkham? I can probably assume, but is that just like a
basically
casual thing that can happen?
It's a casual thing that happen. It's basically like if something goes wrong when you go through a portal or something goes wrong. There's always a chance for you to get lost in time and space. You're basically taken off the board, and you can't do anything until you basically randomly reappear like next turn.
How incredibly H.P. Lovecraft. Timeout. Yeah, there's some TTS mods that assist in King's Dilemma, like a scripted scoring table and like house tiles, but I believe most of them are not full mods. They are meant to be like one of you owns the game physically to play with people online, which I'm not averse to, but again, that would be a chunk of change to throw down for that.
Mm-hmm.
To also have me have to juggle all the fucking things and stuff. So I will wait until somebody improvises on it, or I'll find a decent play online feature.
That'd be neat.
But it's a game I've like I said, I've been play this through several generations, and it's pretty sick. So, all right, okay. That's supposed to be major topics.
I don't think I got anything else to talk about.
That's all right. I mean, it's a little short, but you know, episodes are episodes of What's Up.
Next week I'll definitely have more to talk about. We'll probably have more Star Wars thoughts. I'll have anime thoughts.
Omega will have accomplished something in his week, probably.
Probably. Maybe
at the very least, I'll be able to flash back to at least one stream. So.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll have the fucking Resident Evil stream started.
Maybe we will. So far, I'm pretty free.
Mm-hmm.
Mario Party can ruin friendships. Yes, chat.
I was actually wondering about that. If we ever got together, I literally have two different Mario parties. I think I have Mario Party 6 and 7 for the GameCube. Now I'm just all like, do I want to risk our friendship?
Well, I mean, so what Game Grumps always does is that Aaron is an animal and he makes a level 9 CPU. That would give us something to unite against. You know, we can be mad at each other, but we'll definitely be way more mad at Waluigi.
True. Very true.
No, I think the funny one for us would be to try out. It's constantly going in and out of stock. It's like Game Club 52, I think, on the Switch, which is like a bunch of just generic games.
Yeah. I mean, we could probably play
some of which
online.
Would be fun. Some of which would maybe not be fun. I don't know. Like, I don't know how Lucky feels about like chess or checkers and stuff.
I can play them. Okay.
I can also play chess. I'm not like super practiced.
Chess, checkers, backgammon.
Some of those games I don't know. Like, I don't actually think I know how to play backgammon. Just never really came up in my life.
It's complicated, but not. Oh yes, if I can I would love to get a copy of Donkey Kong Kingdom, but also that's another.
That's another kind of hell as well.
Yeah.
Same for if we got like an old Wii copy of like Fortune Street or something, the only one that came out in English. Like, those games are fun, but can definitely be a little fucky. You know, it's like playing certain board games. Like we have rules in our general squad about not playing certain games too many times. You can only play so many coup games before you gotta fucking stop.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, someone's gonna get fucking shot.
Well, that's the funny thing. In one of the coup games, the coup icon is just a gun. So
yeah,
gun. That's an interesting thought, Loth. I could see that, Loth, because you're pretty relaxed about stuff. You do get a little sassy about things, but also I can see you being relaxed enough to be like, we could play Monopoly. Me, I'm like, I'm not. No, capitalism. I sense the capitalism. I've played Monopoly with some people who are sticklers. I mean, like, I have played like junior Monopoly with my little nieces and nephews, and that's okay. But that's because in that case, I'm not seriously playing Monopoly against like 6-year-olds, right?
All right.
I'm an adult man. I don't need to prove my worth by beating them up at Monopoly. So that's a different experience. But like sitting down to seriously play Monopoly with like people I know, I don't know. Maybe not with Lucky. Maybe I should grab some of these scrub lords and see how they fare. That could be funny. I did do a rando board game stream. I don't think Monopoly was on my wheel of pain at all. We did play Classic Clue. That was pretty fun. We got to learn who was good at amateur detectives and who was not.
Lucky is not good at amateur detective.
I missed it by one clue. I was one round away from having the answer, and somebody got it first. Clue/Cluedo is a very weird game sometimes. I believe there's like a full-blown online version which like does all this shit for you as well. So.
Oh, I actually have to thresh the rice. And I have to do button prompts. Cool. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Neat.
What's up? Okay.
Man, they're going all in on this fucking rice farming. I think that's cool.
I mean, rice is very important in a lot of these Asian.
I know, but
it's the economy. So like
when I first got this game, when I heard about this game, people were all like, "Oh yeah, no, it's kind of like Room Factory, except all you're doing is dealing with rice." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds fun. I like farming," but I didn't understand like how much they go to the detail, because like I've been like looking at like the notes and stuff. It's like you're supposed to like change how much water is at certain points of the day. You know, you gotta dry the rice, you gotta bring it in, now you gotta fucking thresh it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now I gotta hull it. Okay. Use the mortar.
They're going super hardcore on like, no, you don't understand. Rice is important, guys. Hull it with the mortar and pestle. Oh my god, it's huge.
Yeah.
And you're so small.
Good thing I have, Lollibaba powers.
magical dropkick power.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, also I've seen you in the action segments. You can jump pretty fucking high, so.
Oh, I'm only 10% done. Oh, I'm gonna be here a minute. Actually, hang
Well,
on.
why don't we, if we don't have anything further to talk about, why don't we go ahead and get out of here and leave Lucky to his rice?
Oh no. Oh no, hang on. I'm gonna change this up. I'm gonna put both my thumbs on the fucking D-pad, and we're just gonna go nuts on up and down. That's what we're gonna do.
Ah, power thumb, yeah.
Power thumb. Oh, no, this is
talking
still...
about Mario Party strats. That's absolutely like a classic Mario Party thing. Hold on, I have to change how I hold the controller to be better at this.
Yeah. Oh no. It says I can stop anytime, but I don't wanna. What would happen?
Yeah, you gotta hold that rice, boy.
Oh, I learned a skill. What? Okay, neat.
You learned a skill from hulling the rice? That's neat.
Yeah, let's see. What's my check? Oh, here it is. Oh, hey, I grow less tired when you... Or so I'm hoping. Neat. Oh, I can just learn a bunch of fucking farming skills. That's neat. I guess it's...
that is neat.
Oh, I guess that's progression things. Maybe it won't become such a pain in the ass to do these things, or I can do them faster.
That's pretty good.
Axe, don't explain shit to me. Fuck you. It says it right there on the fucking screen.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for... as Axe says that a 5 second later, like assuming you're not reading.
Yes.
He's playing the game. But all right, we should actually wrap up. I think we're reaching the point where we're rapidly just talking nonsense.
I don't know if you can actually...
Not that we're opposed to that, you know? We love to talk nonsense, but...
This is...
I scratch my head and stuff.
And this is why we constantly say, Axe, sometimes it's better just not to say anything.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's better not to make pithy observations. People are often more aware than they think they are.
I'm at 70. I feel a cramp coming on.
Power through it.
I'm gonna power through it. Oh god, this bar is going up so... Oh, wait. Oh, I got a burst of energy.
There you go, yeah.
I don't think I got another skill. We're going up. I don't think we can end the stream until I fucking...
I know. I'm trying to like slowly stretch it out, but also I'm very interested in watching you in the tiny view.
I know it's 80%. 90. Go, Sakuna. Go, Sakuna. You can do it. Use that shake weight. No, don't stop. There we go. Yeah. Oh, God.
So when it says you can press to whenever you're done, is that like you could quit early with hulling, I guess?
Yeah.
Or is it like you can take a break and come back?
No, I think it's... I'm not sure, but I'm not gonna assume that it's you just stop. But I made white rice. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and the harvest is done. New rice complete.
Sick.
Behold my golden field.
Actually, perhaps maybe it's like a balance of like what kind of rice you get when you quit hulling.
Maybe.
I don't actually.
Man,
I'm not like a rice aficionado, so I don't necessarily know how all the rice works.
Got fucking motherfucking 10 rice. Oh my god, look at all the... Okay.
Wow, bales of rice, that's a lot. Okay, hold on, wait a minute. I see in the preview, yes, all this fucking data has come up. What the fuck?
Yeah, gross. Amount to sunlight, average temperature, damage from weed, pest, all that.
Spacing too far apart.
Threshing, drying.
Low.
Wait, what's
Water
this?
level deep.
Oh, results. Oh my god. Oh. Okay. Oh, there's fertilizer. Oh, I can affect the soil, rice status, things attack. Oh,
wow, this is very deep.
This is very deep. We have gone all in on rice. I dig it. I fucking dig it. I love it. I'm gonna have to do this more. Development overripe.
Sounds like.
Oh shit.
As I sit up and stretch a little bit. Oh, it's a game that goes ham on what it's about.
Yeah, it is.
But all right, okay.
Yeah, but let's call it here.
We're wrapping. Yeah. So everybody, if you have liked this live stream and you haven't already, or you're maybe watching the archive, go ahead and hit that like button. If you have any comments, after this is done archiving, you can leave it in the comment section down below. Be sure to maybe hit up our Discord. That link is in the video description. I hope it is. We'll double check later. Or it's on our channel page if it's not there, or if it's bugged or something. Check it out. If you're new here and haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to our channel to always get our latest videos, future live streams. It's great. And even if you are subscribed, make sure to hit that bell for notifications so you always know when we post a new video or when we stream. That's right, I have to say that now. Once again, it's great. You can also join our channel membership. That helps support us in other ways as well. Get access to emotes you can throw out during chat time. Everybody in chat, go ape shit with channel emotes if you're a member. Throw out many tyranny emotes. I'll give them a second to work on that. But as I was also saying, another very important thing, though, is to also consider supporting us on Patreon. If you do, you can get access to episodes in audio format, downloadable, for as little as $1 a month or $10 a year. I can't really say with what's up there early anymore, since obviously you just heard us record the audio for the first time live. But, you know, the audio archive's there. It's cheap. It's permanent. And it'll go up there as soon as I'm done editing. It's entirely possible that depending on how, you know, YouTube is with stuff, it might, you know, get processed sooner. So, There we go. Now they're going ham in the chat. You can get access to these and more. And generally it really helps us out. You can get access to other videos early, lots of other stuff, listen to all our shows live as forward. And it's super cool for us. Okay, so we'll be sure to have more stories for you next week with What's Up. We'll be back streaming again.
See you next.
Will it be? Who knows?
Who knows? See you next week, everybody.
Bye.